Today's video is a detailed review and analysis of the movie Aquaman, starring Jason Momoa. This is not a full movie and not a movie screening. In this video, we will break down the complete story of the film and explain how the plot develops from start to end. We will talk about the main cast and supporting cast, their roles, and their performances. We will also cover the movie's production, development process, and the creative choices behind it. You will learn where the story was inspired from, who wrote it, and what the original idea and purpose were. Along with the creative side, we will analyze the movie's budget, box office performance, and overall business results. Every important element of the film is explained and reviewed from a viewer's perspective. So let's begin and take a closer look at Aquaman. The storm crashing against the rocky coast of Maine felt violent enough to tear the lighthouse apart, waves slamming against the cliffs while thunder rolled across the dark ocean like distant explosions. Inside the lighthouse, a quiet life had always existed far from the chaos of the world, where a simple keeper named Tom Curry spent his nights guiding ships safely through dangerous waters. That peaceful routine suddenly changed when he spotted a strange figure drifting helplessly in the raging sea. Tom rushed outside, despite the brutal wind and freezing rain, struggling across the slippery rocks until he managed to pull the unconscious woman from the crashing waves. Her clothing looked nothing like anything he had ever seen before, decorated with symbols and designs that seemed almost ancient. Even in the middle of the storm, it was clear that she was not an ordinary person who had simply fallen overboard from a passing ship. When the woman finally woke inside the lighthouse, her eyes carried both strength and fear as she slowly tried to understand where she was. She introduced herself as Atlanta, a queen from a distant underwater kingdom hidden deep beneath the ocean's surface. At first, the story sounded impossible, yet the calm authority in her voice made it clear she was telling the truth. Days slowly passed inside the lighthouse as Atlanta recovered from her injuries while Tom helped her adjust to the strange new world above the sea. Their conversations grew longer with each passing day, curiosity slowly turning into friendship. What started as two strangers sharing shelter from a storm gradually became something far deeper. Before long, their lives became permanently connected when Atlanta chose to remain in the surface world rather than return to the kingdom she had fled. The ocean that once separated their worlds now felt like a bridge between them. Together, they built a quiet life far away from the politics and wars that existed deep beneath the sea. Years later, the lighthouse felt warmer and louder with the presence of a young boy who carried both of their worlds within him. Arthur Curry grew up surrounded by the endless ocean, fascinated by the creatures living beneath the waves. Even as a child, it was obvious that he possessed abilities far beyond what normal humans could ever understand. While visiting a local aquarium during a school trip, Arthur found himself standing silently in front of a massive tank filled with sharks and other sea predators. The other children quickly stepped away in fear, but Arthur remained completely calm. The creatures inside the tank began reacting strangely, circling closer to the glass, as if they were responding to an unseen signal. Teachers rushed to pull the boy away when the animals began crashing violently against the glass walls, creating a terrifying scene for everyone watching. Yet Arthur simply stared at them with curiosity rather than fear. Somehow, he understood that the creatures were not trying to attack him, they were answering him. As Arthur grew older, his mother realized that his connection to the ocean was becoming stronger every year. She knew the truth about his heritage could not stay hidden forever. One evening, she finally revealed that Arthur was not entirely human and that his true home existed far beneath the surface of the sea. Before Arthur could fully understand what that meant, Atlantean soldiers suddenly appeared near the lighthouse one night, sent by the rulers of Atlantis to bring their missing queen back. Atlanta knew that if they discovered Arthur, his life would be placed in serious danger. To protect her family, she made the painful decision to return to Atlantis alone. Her farewell to Tom and young Arthur happened under the quiet glow of the lighthouse beam, promising that she would find a way back to them one day. As she disappeared into the ocean, the peaceful life the family had built together was suddenly shattered. Arthur grew up believing that Atlantis had taken his mother away forever. Years passed, and the young boy slowly transformed into a powerful man who spent much of his life traveling across oceans and coastal cities. Rumors began spreading about a mysterious figure who appeared whenever ships were in danger or criminals threatened innocent people at sea. The world started calling this unknown hero by a name that sounded almost mythical: Aquaman. Arthur never asked for fame or recognition. He simply helped people when he could, and then disappeared again before anyone had the chance to thank him. Life on the open ocean suited him better than any city ever could. The sea had always felt like his true home. During one dangerous mission, involving a hijacked submarine deep in international waters, Arthur fought a group of heavily armed pirates who had taken control of the vessel. The criminals believed they were untouchable in the middle of the ocean. They quickly discovered how wrong they were. Arthur moved through the submarine like a force of nature, effortlessly overpowering the attackers with strength that seemed impossible for any normal human. Bullets bounced off him while metal doors bent beneath his grip. For the terrified hostages trapped inside the submarine, it felt like watching a living legend appear from nowhere. Among the pirates was a ruthless mercenary named David Kane, working alongside his father during the dangerous mission. When the battle turned against them, David watched helplessly as the chaos inside the submarine led to his father's death. In that moment, his hatred focused entirely on the man responsible for their defeat. While Arthur left the submarine behind and disappeared back into the ocean, David Kane stood among the wreckage with a burning desire for revenge. The mysterious hero who had destroyed their mission would soon become his greatest enemy. The name Aquaman was now permanently connected to his anger. Far beneath the surface of the ocean, a different kind of conflict was quietly growing inside the hidden kingdom of Atlantis. The underwater world contained powerful civilizations that had remained secret from humanity for centuries. Their rulers watched the pollution and destruction caused by surface dwellers with increasing frustration. At the center of that growing tension stood a powerful ruler named Orm, the king of Atlantis, and Arthur's younger half-brother. Unlike Arthur, Orm had been raised entirely within the traditions of Atlantis and believed the surface world had become a threat that could no longer be ignored. Orm believed the only way to protect the oceans was to unite the 7 underwater kingdoms under a single ruler powerful enough to challenge humanity itself. If he succeeded, he would become the ocean master, commanding an army strong enough to bring the entire surface world to its knees. While the surface world continued living unaware of the coming danger, events beneath the ocean were already moving toward a conflict that could reshape the entire planet. And somewhere between those two worlds stood Arthur Curry, a man who had never truly chosen where he belonged. Deep beneath the surface of the ocean, the kingdom of Atlantis looked nothing like the broken world above. Towering coral structures stretched toward glowing currents of blue light, while advanced technology flowed through the city like living energy. For centuries, this hidden civilization had remained powerful and untouched by the chaos of the surface world. At the center of this underwater empire sat King Orm, the younger half-brother of Arthur Curry and the current ruler of Atlantis. Unlike Arthur, Orm had been raised inside the strict traditions of Atlantean royalty. Every lesson he learned as a child revolved around one belief: the surface world had become the greatest threat to the oceans. Pollution, warships, and endless human expansion had slowly poisoned the seas over the years. To Orm, the evidence was everywhere, and he believed the time had finally come to stop it. His plan was simple but terrifying: unite the 7 underwater kingdoms and launch a massive war against humanity. If he succeeded in bringing the kingdoms together, he would gain the title of Ocean Master, a position that commanded the most powerful military force on Earth. No surface nation would be able to defend itself against the combined strength of Atlantis and its allies. The oceans themselves would become weapons. However, uniting the kingdoms would not be easy. Each underwater civilization had its own ruler, its own traditions, and its own reasons for resisting Orm's ambition. One of the most important alliances he needed came from King Nereus, the ruler of a powerful tribe known as Zebel. Orm visited Nereus with a carefully prepared argument, showing him how human activity was slowly destroying marine life across the planet. He insisted that the surface world would never change unless it was forced to. According to Orm, war was the only language humanity understood. Nereus listened carefully, but he remained cautious about committing his people to a full-scale war. He understood the danger humans posed, yet he also knew that attacking the surface could create consequences no one could control. Still, Orm continued pressing forward with his plan. To strengthen the alliance, Orm was already engaged to Nereus's daughter, Princess Mera. She was known across the underwater kingdoms as a powerful warrior with the rare ability to control water itself. Many believed she would one day become one of the most influential leaders in Atlantis. But Mera did not fully trust Orm's intentions. She had grown up hearing stories about Arthur Curry, the lost son of Queen Atlana, who had been raised in the surface world. Unlike Orm, Arthur represented a connection between both civilizations. Mera believed that Arthur might be the only person capable of stopping the growing conflict between Atlantis and humanity. She knew that convincing him to return to the underwater world would not be easy, but the future of both worlds might depend on it. Meanwhile, Arthur continued living far from the political struggles of Atlantis. The ocean remained his only real home, and he spent most of his time traveling from one coastline to another, helping people whenever danger appeared at sea. Fame and recognition meant nothing to him. That quiet life changed when Mera finally found him standing alone on a lonely stretch of shoreline. Her sudden appearance immediately caught his attention, not just because she came from Atlantis, but because she seemed to know far more about his past than anyone else. Arthur had spent years trying to forget the world his mother came from, but Mera forced him to confront it again. She explained that Orm was preparing to unite the underwater kingdoms and declare war on the surface. If no one stopped him, the entire planet could face destruction. At first, Arthur refused to get involved. He blamed Atlantis for taking his mother away, and had no interest in fighting their battles. But Mera reminded him that the war would not stay underwater. Millions of innocent people on the surface would die if Orm succeeded. Before Arthur could make a final decision, a massive disaster suddenly struck the coastline. A towering tsunami formed without warning and rushed toward the shore, destroying ships and flooding cities within seconds. Cars, buildings, and debris were thrown through the streets like toys. Arthur and Mera fought desperately to help civilians escape the massive wave crashing into the city. The destruction was overwhelming, and it quickly became clear that this disaster was not a natural event. Someone had intentionally unleashed the ocean itself. When the water finally settled, Arthur realized the terrifying truth. Orm had launched the tsunami as a warning to the surface world. It was the first step in a much larger war that was already beginning. The destruction forced Arthur to reconsider Mera's request. Ignoring Atlantis was no longer an option when innocent people were already suffering. Even if he hated the underwater kingdom, he could not allow Orm to continue attacking the world above. Mera explained that there might still be a way to stop Orm before the war truly began. According to ancient Atlantean legends, the first ruler of Atlantis once possessed a powerful weapon known as the Trident of Atlan. Whoever controlled that trident would have the right to rule the entire ocean. If Arthur could find the lost trident, he would gain the authority to challenge Orm and claim the throne himself. The problem was that the weapon had been missing for centuries, hidden somewhere no Atlantean had been able to locate. Arthur did not like the idea of becoming a king, but the situation left him with little choice. If the trident truly existed, it might be the only way to stop his half-brother before the war consumed both worlds. With no other options left, Arthur finally agreed to help Mera search for the legendary weapon. Their journey would take them across the surface world and deep into the hidden history of Atlantis itself. At the same time, far away from their mission, another enemy was quietly preparing for revenge. David Kane had not forgotten the man responsible for his father's death. With advanced Atlantean technology now in his possession, he was transforming himself into something far more dangerous. Soon the world would know him by a new name, Black Manta, and his hunt for Aquaman had only just begun. Arthur never imagined that returning to Atlantis would happen under circumstances like this. The ocean that once felt like his refuge was now leading him straight into the middle of a war between worlds. Traveling beside Mera across vast coastlines and hidden ruins, he slowly began realizing that the conflict beneath the sea was much bigger than he had ever understood. Mera explained that the trident they were searching for once belonged to King Atlan, the first and most powerful ruler of Atlantis. According to ancient legends, Atlan had united all the underwater kingdoms and ruled them with absolute authority. But after his death, the kingdoms slowly separated, and the legendary weapon disappeared, along with the true throne of Atlantis. Finding the trident would not only give Arthur the power to challenge Orm, but also prove that he was the rightful king of the oceans. The problem was that no one knew where the weapon had been hidden. All that remained were fragments of clues scattered across the ruins of forgotten civilizations. Their search eventually led them to a hidden Atlantean outpost, where Arthur reunited with Vulko, the royal advisor who had secretly trained him during his childhood. Vulko had spent years preparing Arthur for the possibility that one day he might return to Atlantis and claim his birthright. Seeing Arthur again filled Vulko with relief, but there was no time for emotional reunions. The situation in Atlantis was becoming more dangerous every day, as Orm continued gathering support from the remaining underwater kingdoms. If Arthur did not act soon, the war would become unstoppable. Vulko revealed an ancient map pointing toward the lost trident's possible location. The first clue lay hidden within the ruins of an ancient kingdom buried beneath the Sahara Desert. Thousands of years earlier, that land had once been covered by ocean before the world changed. Arthur found the idea hard to believe at first, but Vulko explained that the history of Atlantis stretched far beyond what humans understood. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen long before the modern world even existed. The desert they were heading toward had once been part of the ocean itself. While Arthur and Mera prepared to follow the ancient clues, Orm had already discovered their plan. Furious that Arthur was interfering with his vision of conquering the surface world, he ordered his soldiers to hunt them down before they could reach the lost weapon. The journey across the desert quickly turned into a dangerous race against time. Hidden beneath the sand, the ruins of the lost Atlantean civilization waited silently, buried for centuries beneath shifting dunes. When Arthur and Mera finally discovered the entrance to the Forgotten Temple, it felt like stepping into a piece of history that had been erased from the world. Inside the temple, ancient Atlantean technology still flickered with life, projecting holographic messages left behind by King Atlant himself. The recording explained that the trident had been hidden somewhere no ordinary warrior could reach. Only someone worthy of ruling the oceans would survive the journey. The message also revealed the next destination, remote island near Sicily, where another piece of the ancient puzzle remained hidden. Arthur and Mera realized that finding the trident would require traveling across both land and sea, following clues left behind thousands of years earlier. Unfortunately, they were not the only ones moving toward the next location. Orm had already deployed soldiers across the oceans to intercept them. At the same time, another enemy was rapidly approaching with his own deadly mission. David Kane had spent months transforming himself into something far more dangerous than the pirate Arthur had fought on the submarine. Using advanced Atlantean armor and weaponry, he created a powerful battlesuit designed specifically for underwater combat. The armor gave him incredible speed, strength, and deadly energy weapons capable of cutting through steel. With the new identity of Black Manta, he became one of the most dangerous mercenaries in the world. His goal remained simple: kill Aquaman and avenge his father. When Arthur and Mera finally reached the Mediterranean coastline near Sicily, they quickly realized they were walking straight into a trap. Black Manta had already tracked them down and was waiting for the perfect moment to attack. The battle erupted suddenly across the ancient ruins surrounding the island. Manta's advanced weapons fired powerful energy blasts that shattered stone pillars and sent debris flying through the air. Arthur fought back with incredible strength, but the new armor made Manta far more dangerous than before. The fight moved from the ruins into the open sea, where both warriors unleashed their full power beneath the waves. Manta's jet-powered armor allowed him to move with terrifying speed, firing laser blasts capable of boiling the water around them. Despite the intense battle, Arthur eventually managed to overpower his enemy and destroy much of the armor during the fight. Black Manta barely escaped with his life, retreating into the darkness of the ocean with his hatred stronger than ever. The war between them was far from finished. With Manta temporarily defeated, Arthur and Mera finally uncovered the next clue, leading them toward the trident's true location. The final destination lay somewhere deep within the most dangerous region of the ocean, a place surrounded by terrifying creatures known as the Trench. Legends describe the Trench as an army of monstrous sea creatures that attacked anything entering their territory. Many explorers had attempted to cross that region over the centuries, but none had ever returned. Arthur knew the journey ahead would be more dangerous than anything they had faced before. Yet the fate of both Atlantis and the surface world now depended on whether he could claim the legendary weapon. Meanwhile, Orm's campaign continued expanding across the underwater kingdoms. One by one, powerful rulers were being forced to join his growing alliance. His army was becoming unstoppable. The final battle for control of the oceans was approaching quickly, and only one thing could stop it. Somewhere beyond the deadly waters of the Trench, the lost trident of Atlan was waiting for the one person destined to claim it. Arthur and Mera sailed deeper into the open ocean, moving farther away from the familiar world of coastlines and cities. The water around them slowly changed color, turning darker and colder as they approached the region that sailors across the world feared the most. Stories about the Trench had circulated for centuries, describing a terrifying part of the ocean where countless ships had mysteriously disappeared. Even Arthur, who had spent his life around the sea, could feel something different in the water as they entered that region. The waves moved strangely, and the silence beneath the surface felt unnatural. It was as if the ocean itself was warning them that they were approaching something ancient and dangerous. When night surrounded their small boat, the darkness of the ocean became almost complete. The stars above barely reflected on the black water, creating an endless void around them. Mera studied the ancient clues they had gathered, confirming that the final path toward the lost trident passed directly through this cursed territory. Without warning, strange movements began appearing beneath the water. The surface started rippling as shadows gathered beneath the boat, circling them slowly. Arthur immediately recognized the danger. The creatures of the Trench had already sensed their presence. Within seconds, dozens of terrifying monsters burst from the water, their pale bodies twisting through the air as they attacked the boat from every direction. Their razor teeth and glowing eyes made them look more like nightmares than living creatures. They had evolved in total darkness, becoming perfect hunters in the deepest parts of the ocean. Arthur fought them with everything he had, throwing several of the creatures back into the water while trying to protect Mera and keep the boat from being destroyed. The monsters kept coming in endless numbers, climbing over the sides of the vessel and tearing through the wooden structure with brutal force. Realizing they could not win the fight on the surface, Arthur and Mera were forced to abandon the boat and dive into the ocean below. Surrounded by the monstrous army of the trench, they swam through the darkness as fast as they could while the creatures chased them relentlessly. The pursuit pushed them deeper and deeper into a part of the ocean few living beings had ever reached. Just when it seemed like the monsters would finally overwhelm them, a powerful underwater current suddenly pulled both Arthur and Mera into a massive glowing tunnel hidden beneath the sea. The current moved with incredible force, dragging them through a swirling passage that looked more like a portal than a natural ocean current. Within seconds, the darkness disappeared and the water around them began glowing with warm light. When the current finally released them, Arthur and Mera surfaced in a place that looked completely impossible. They had entered a hidden ocean located deep inside the earth itself, a vast and untouched world that had remained secret for thousands of years. Towering cliffs surrounded the massive underground sea, while waterfalls crashed from the cavern ceiling high above. The air felt warm and alive, completely untouched by the pollution that had poisoned the surface oceans. It was a hidden paradise, lost in the center of the planet. But what shocked Arthur the most was the person waiting for them on the distant shore. Standing beside the water was a woman he had believed dead for most of his life. His mother, Atlana, had somehow survived all these years. Arthur ran toward her in disbelief, while Mera watched the emotional reunion unfold. Atlana explained that she had never been executed, as Arthur had believed. Instead, she had escaped Atlantis and eventually found refuge inside this hidden sea, where no one could find her. For years she had searched for a way back to the surface, but had never discovered the path that Arthur and Mera accidentally followed. The secret currents connecting the oceans were almost impossible to navigate without the correct knowledge. Atlana also revealed the final truth about the lost trident. The legendary weapon rested nearby, guarded by an ancient creature known as the Carathon. This monstrous guardian had protected the trident since the time of King Atlan himself. Many warriors had attempted to claim the weapon throughout history, but none had survived the encounter with the guardian. The Carathon tested anyone who approached, allowing only a true ruler of the seas to pass. Arthur understood that this was the final step in his journey. If he could not convince the guardian that he was worthy of the trident, everything they had fought for would end here. The fate of Atlantis and the surface world now depended entirely on this moment. As Arthur approached the ancient ruins where the trident rested, the massive guardian suddenly emerged from the darkness of the hidden sea. The Carathon was enormous, its body twisting through the water like a living mountain covered in glowing patterns. Instead of attacking immediately, the creature spoke in a deep ancient voice that echoed through the cavern. It questioned Arthur about his intentions and his right to claim the power of Atlantis. Rather than fighting the guardian, Arthur did something no warrior had attempted before. Using his natural ability to communicate with sea creatures, he spoke to the Carathon calmly and honestly. He explained that he did not seek power for himself, but wanted to stop a war that could destroy both worlds. The ancient creature sensed the truth in his words and recognized the royal bloodline flowing through him. For the first time in centuries, the Guardian finally stepped aside and allowed someone to approach the weapon. Arthur lifted the trident of Atlan from its resting place, and the moment he touched it, a powerful energy surged through the entire hidden sea. The weapon accepted him as the rightful ruler of Atlantis. Far away in the underwater kingdom, Orm was preparing his massive army for the final stage of his conquest. Multiple kingdoms had already joined his alliance, giving him control of the largest military force the oceans had ever seen. But as Arthur rose from the hidden sea carrying the legendary trident, the balance of power across the entire ocean suddenly shifted. The true king of Atlantis had finally returned. The moment Arthur emerged from the hidden sea carrying the legendary trident of Atlan, the ocean itself seemed to respond to his presence. Waves rolled across the water with a strange rhythm, and creatures from every corner of the sea began gathering around him. The ancient weapon in his hand wasn't just a symbol of power, it was proof that the rightful ruler of Atlantis had finally returned. Mera watched in amazement as Arthur tested the trident for the first time. With a simple movement of the weapon, powerful currents shifted through the water, and massive schools of fish began following him like a living army. The connection between Arthur and the ocean had grown stronger than ever before. Atlana stood beside them quietly, proud but also concerned about the battle that was quickly approaching. She knew Orm would never surrender the throne willingly. The moment Arthur returned to Atlantis, a war between brothers would be unavoidable. Far away in the depths of Atlantis, Orm had already begun the final stage of his campaign. The armies of several underwater kingdoms had gathered together, forming a massive force unlike anything the ocean had ever seen. Soldiers rode giant sea creatures, while armored warships floated silently through the deep waters. Orm stood at the center of this enormous army, wearing the powerful armor of the Ocean Master. His plan was simple: crush the remaining kingdoms that refused to join him, and then launch a devastating attack against the surface world. Humanity would finally face the consequences of polluting the oceans for centuries. One of the last kingdoms resisting Orm's control was the Brine Kingdom, a fierce tribe of warriors who refused to submit to his rule. Their massive armies gathered near their underwater fortress, preparing to defend their territory against Atlantis. Orm led his forces into battle with absolute confidence, believing victory was guaranteed. Thousands of armored soldiers charged across the ocean floor, while enormous war creatures clashed in a chaotic storm of movement and energy. The ocean itself became a battlefield. Just as Orm's army began overwhelming the Brine warriors, something unexpected happened. The water around the battlefield suddenly shifted with powerful currents, and a new force appeared from the distant depths. Arthur had arrived, leading an army of sea creatures from across the ocean, including the terrifying monsters of the trench and the massive Guardian. Gareth and Arthur surged toward the battlefield like a tidal wave of living power. Creatures of every shape and size followed him, responding to the authority of the Trident. Both armies paused in shock as they watched the unbelievable sight unfold. No Atlantean king had ever commanded the ocean itself like this before. Arthur wasn't just another challenger, he was something far greater. The battlefield exploded into chaos as Arthur's forces crashed into Orm's army. Massive sea monsters battled armored soldiers, while powerful currents sent warships spinning through the water. The entire ocean shook with the intensity of the conflict. Orm quickly realized what had happened. The legend of the lost trident had come true, and Arthur had somehow claimed it. But Orm refused to accept defeat. To him, Arthur was still the half-blood outsider who had no right to rule Atlantis. Determined to prove himself, Orm charged toward Arthur and challenged him directly in the middle of the battlefield. The two brothers faced each other, surrounded by the chaos of war, their rivalry finally reaching its final moment. Their battle was fierce and relentless. Orm's combat skills were incredible after years of royal training, while Arthur fought with the raw power and instincts he had developed from surviving in both worlds. Energy blasts from Orm's weapon clashed against the glowing trident, while powerful waves tore through the water around them. Soldiers from both armies watched as the future of Atlantis was decided in a single duel. Slowly but surely, Arthur began gaining the advantage. The trident amplified his strength and connection with the ocean, allowing him to move faster and strike harder than ever before. Every attack pushed Orm further back. Just as Arthur prepared to finish the fight, something unexpected happened. Atlanna suddenly appeared on the battlefield, revealing herself to both of her sons. The shocking sight instantly froze Orm in place. For years he had believed his mother had been executed for betraying Atlantis. Seeing her alive shattered the anger and hatred he had carried for so long. Everything he believed about Arthur and the past suddenly began falling apart. Arthur used that moment not to kill his brother, but to spare him. Instead of delivering a final blow, he lowered the trident and offered Orm a chance to end the conflict peacefully. Realizing the truth about his mother and seeing the loyalty the ocean creatures had shown Arthur, Orm finally accepted defeat. The armies surrounding them slowly lowered their weapons as the war came to an end. With Orm captured and the battle finished, the underwater kingdoms recognized Arthur as the rightful ruler of Atlantis. The ancient legend of King Atlan had finally been fulfilled. Later, on the peaceful shores of the lighthouse where everything had once begun, Atlanna reunited with Tom Curry after years of separation. The quiet moment between them proved that even after all the battles and tragedies, their love had survived. Arthur stood nearby watching the reunion, realizing that his journey between two worlds had finally reached its purpose. He was no longer just a hero wandering the oceans. He was now the king of Atlantisand, the protector of both the sea and the surface world. The moment Arthur emerged from the hidden sea carrying the legendary trident of Atlan, the ocean itself seemed to respond to his presence. Waves rolled across the water with a strange rhythm, and creatures from every corner of the sea began gathering around him. The ancient weapon in his hand wasn't just a symbol of power. It was proof that the rightful ruler of Atlantis had finally returned. Mera watched in amazement as Arthur tested the trident for the first time. With a simple movement of the weapon, powerful currents shifted through the water, and massive schools of fish began following him like a living army. The connection between Arthur and the ocean had grown stronger than ever before. Atlantis stood beside them quietly, proud but also concerned about the battle that was quickly approaching. She knew Orm would never surrender the throne willingly. The moment Arthur returned to Atlantis, a war between brothers would be unavoidable. Far away in the depths of Atlantis, Orm had already begun the final stage of his campaign. The armies of several underwater kingdoms had gathered together, forming a massive force unlike anything the ocean had ever seen. Soldiers rode giant sea creatures, while armored warships floated silently through the deep waters. Orm stood at the center of this enormous army, wearing the powerful armor of the Ocean Master. His plan was simple: crush the remaining kingdoms that refused to join him, and then launch a devastating attack against the surface world. Humanity would finally face the consequences of polluting the oceans for centuries. One of the last kingdoms resisting Orm's control was the Brine Kingdom, a fierce tribe of warriors who refused to submit to his rule. Their massive armies gathered near their underwater fortress, preparing to defend their territory against Atlantis. Orm led his forces into battle with absolute confidence, believing victory was guaranteed. Thousands of armored soldiers charged the ocean floor, while enormous war creatures clashed in a chaotic storm of movement and energy. The ocean itself became a battlefield. Just as Orm's army began overwhelming the Brine warriors, something unexpected happened. The water around the battlefield suddenly shifted with powerful currents, and a new force appeared from the distant depths. Arthur had arrived, leading an army of sea creatures from across the ocean, including the terrifying monsters of the Trench and the massive guardian Kerathon. Arthur surged toward the battlefield like a tidal wave of living power. Creatures of every shape and size followed him, responding to the authority of the trident. Both armies paused in shock as they watched the unbelievable sight unfold. No Atlantean king had ever commanded the ocean itself like this before. Arthur wasn't just another challenger, he was something far greater. The battlefield exploded into chaos as Arthur's forces crashed into Orm's army. Massive sea monsters battled armored soldiers, while powerful currents sent warships spinning through the water. The entire ocean shook with the intensity of the conflict. Orm quickly realized what had happened. The legend of the lost trident had come true, and Arthur had somehow claimed it. But Orm refused to accept defeat. To him, Arthur was still the half-blood outsider who had no right to rule Atlantis. Determined to prove himself, Orm charged toward Arthur and challenged him directly in the middle of the battlefield. The two brothers faced each other, surrounded by the chaos of war, their rivalry finally reaching its final moment. Their battle was fierce and relentless. Orm's combat skills were incredible after years of royal training, while Arthur fought with the raw power and instincts he had developed from surviving in both worlds. Energy blasts from Orm's weapon clashed against the glowing trident, while powerful waves tore through the water around them. Soldiers from both armies watched as the future of Atlantis was decided in a single duel. Slowly but surely, Arthur began gaining the advantage. The trident amplified his strength and connection with the ocean, allowing him to move faster and strike harder than ever before. Every attack pushed Orm further back. Just as Arthur prepared to finish the fight, something unexpected happened. Atlantis suddenly appeared on the battlefield, revealing herself to both of her sons. The shocking sight instantly froze Orm in place. For years he had believed his mother had been executed for betraying Atlantis. Seeing her alive shattered the anger and hatred he had carried for so long. Everything he believed about Arthur in the past suddenly began falling apart. Arthur used that moment not to kill his brother, but to spare him. Instead of delivering a final blow, he lowered the trident and offered Orm a chance to end the conflict peacefully. Realizing the truth about his mother and seeing the loyalty the ocean creatures had shown Arthur, Orm finally accepted defeat. The armies surrounding them slowly lowered their weapons as the war came to an end. With Orm captured and the battle finished, the underwater kingdoms recognized Arthur as the rightful ruler of Atlantis. The ancient legend of King Atlan had finally been fulfilled. Later, on the peaceful shores of the lighthouse where everything had once begun, Atlanta reunited with Tom Curry after years of separation. The quiet moment between them proved that even after all the battles and tragedies, their love had survived. Arthur stood nearby watching the reunion, realizing that his journey between two worlds had finally reached its purpose. He was no longer just a hero wandering the oceans. He was now the king of Atlantis and the protector of both the sea and the surface world. The ocean roared with untamed fury as Arthur swam through the jagged canyons of the Trench, the eerie bioluminescent creatures illuminating his path like distant stars. Each movement stirred clouds of silt that danced in the current, revealing hidden predators that glided silently beneath the shadowy waters. Mera followed close behind, her hydrokinetic powers bending streams of water into protective barriers as they navigated the labyrinthine chasms, aware that the slightest misstep could awaken a hungry pack. Emerging into an open abyss, Arthur paused, sensing the ancient presence of the Kerathon. The colossal sea beast circled gracefully, its eyes glowing with centuries of wisdom and judgment, tentacles undulating with lethal elegance. Mera whispered an incantation taught by Vulko, a calming rhythm of Atlantean words that echoed in the water, coaxing the Guardian to recognize Arthur's rightful claim to the trident. The Kerathon's massive tentacles swept through the water, creating currents that pushed Arthur to his limits, testing his reflexes, endurance, and courage. Each strike was countered with agile maneuvers, showing the beast that Arthur possessed not only strength but respect for the ocean's ancient code. The sea trembled around them as Arthur reached out, hands glowing with his innate hydrokinetic energy, and grasped the legendary trident, feeling the immense power of the seven seas flowing through his veins. Meanwhile, Orm convened with his war council in the Grand Hall of Atlantis, adorned with coral mosaics and golden statues of ancestors long forgotten. His voice thundered across the chamber as he declared the final assault on the Kingdom of the Brine, promising domination over the surface world. Ambassadors from the allied kingdoms nodded, their loyalty bound by fear and a sense of inevitable conquest. Yet whispers of doubt lingered among the younger warriors, sensing the arrogance of their king. Back on the open ocean, Arthur and Mera emerged into sunlight, filtering through the waves, the trident shimmering as it responded to its new master. Schools of fish parted respectfully as Arthur tested his control, summoning whirlpools and tidal surges, each wave a reminder that he was no longer just a half-human outsider, but the true heir to Atlantis. Mera smiled, her eyes reflecting both relief and determination, knowing that together they could confront Orm and stop the war before it engulfed both land and sea. Orm's flagship rose from the depths, a fortress of steel and coral hybridized with Atlantean design, bristling with weaponry and guards trained in ancient combat techniques. Black Manta waited in the shadows aboard the vessel, his high-tech suit glinting ominously, preparing to ambush Arthur at the first opportunity. The tension among Orm's ranks was palpable, each soldier aware that the coming battle would decide not only loyalty and power, but the very fate of their underwater kingdoms. As the armies converged, the first clash erupted near the sunken ruins of a lost city, debris of collapsed towers and broken statues creating labyrinths of danger. Arthur led his marine allies, commanding sea creatures from whales to electric eels, to swarm Orm's forces strategically. Each attack was precise, blending brute strength with cunning strategy, showcasing his intimate bond with the ocean and every living creature within it. Mera unleashed torrents of water infused with Atlantean magic, creating walls of pressure that launched enemy soldiers back into the depths. Arthur engaged in a fierce duel with Orm, their tridents clashing with explosive energy that sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. Orm's strength and fury were formidable, fueled by years of resentment and a desire for dominance. But Arthur's resolve was unyielding, his vision of a united and peaceful Atlantis guiding every strike. Black Manta, seeing an opportunity, attacked Arthur from the shadows, using an energy harpoon capable of piercing even Atlantean armor. Arthur, anticipating betrayal, countered with a sudden surge of water that deflected the weapon and sent Manta tumbling into a whirlpool. The sea around them churned violently as the larger battle continued, tidal waves rising and crashing, turning the sunken city into a chaotic arena of swirling currents, clashing armies, and the roar of mythical beasts. Orm, realizing he was losing control, attempted a desperate move to summon a cataclysmic tidal wave to crush Arthur and his allies. The trident, recognizing its true master, glowed intensely as Arthur channeled the full power of Atlantis, raising a protective barrier that absorbed and redirected the force. Lightning-like arcs of energy illuminated the battlefield, reflecting off the surface and revealing the devastation caused by centuries of conflict, now culminating in this final confrontation. In the midst of battle, Arthur caught sight of his mother, Atlana, emerging from the hidden depths of the uncharted sea, her presence inspiring both allies and enemies to pause. She moved with a regal authority, her voice carrying across the waves, reminding all of the ancient bonds and shared history that Atlantis had long forgotten. Orm faltered for a moment, guilt and familial recognition flickering in his eyes, before fury replaced hesitation, driving him to continue his assault. Arthur, fueled by the combination of his mother's guidance, Mera's support, and his connection to the ocean, launched a final coordinated strike. Trident in hand, he unleashed a controlled tsunami, sweeping through Orm's forces, disarming, disabling, and ultimately subduing the king without taking his life. The battlefield fell silent, the once chaotic waters now calm, reflecting the sun as the new order of Atlantis emerged under Arthur's rightful leadership. The survivors, both human and Atlantean, gathered amidst the ruins of the battlefield. Arthur stood before them, the trident held high, symbolizing unity and strength. He addressed the gathered crowd, promising to lead with justice, compassion, and respect for all life, both above and below the waves. Mera by his side, he embodied the hope that the oceans and surface could coexist peacefully, ending centuries of misunderstanding and conflict. Black Manta, nursing his wounds and pride, retreated into the shadows, plotting revenge, but aware that Arthur had proven himself not just a warrior, but a protector. Atlanta reunited with Thomas Curry, bridging the worlds of human and Atlantean, while Arthur ascended fully into his role as king. His reign began with hope, guided by lessons learned from the trials, the battles, and the understanding that true power lay not in dominance, but in stewardship. As the sun set over the horizon, casting golden rays that danced across the water, Arthur gazed toward the distant surface world, contemplating the adventures yet to come. The seas had been tested, kingdoms challenged, and hearts revealed. Yet, in the calm aftermath, the promise of a new era glimmered in the waves. Atlantis, once divided and secretive, now thrived under the rule of its true heir, and the legend of Aquaman, protector of both land and sea, was secured for generations to come. Storm clouds churned above the Atlantic as Arthur and Mera navigated the jagged reefs guarding the lost outpost of Atlantis. First explorers, the water glowing with phosphorescent plankton that lit their path through shadowed tunnels. Every flick of their fins sent clouds of sand spiraling upward, masking their presence from lurking predators, while distant groans of underwater creatures echoed through the deep, testing their courage and resolve. The relics of old Atlantean technology hummed faintly, remnants of a civilization that had mastered both ocean currents and energy itself, waiting for the rightful heir to claim them. Mera extended her hand, manipulating the currents to open a hidden hatch beneath the seabed, revealing a chamber adorned with inscriptions of kings long past, their legacies etched into crystal walls. Arthur's eyes scanned the ruins, absorbing centuries of Atlantean knowledge, while simultaneously sensing the presence of hostile forces beyond the chamber's protective field. Suddenly, a massive shadow passed overhead, a school of trench hunters, summoned by Orm's scouts to intercept them. Arthur raised his trident, sending a pulse of energy that rippled through the water, scattering the predators and signaling his growing command over the sea. They reached the central vault, where the trident's power was detailed in both myth and historical account. Each glyph revealed methods to channel oceanic energy, not just for combat, but for healing and sustaining the underwater kingdoms. Mera deciphered the runes aloud, revealing hidden Atlantean paths that could aid in reclaiming the surface world's trust. Arthur realized that their mission extended beyond defeating Orm. It was a chance to unify the seven kingdoms under principles of justice, balance, and preservation. Above the surface, Orm's flagship cut through tumultuous waves, each cannon blast shaking the water with thunderous force. Orm's face was a mask of fury and obsession, determined to obliterate anyone who opposed his reign. His army moved in perfect synchronization, yet each attack was anticipated and countered by Arthur's strategic foresight, guided by his deep connection to the ocean. Mera's intervention kept the currents steady, ensuring that Arthur's forces remained mobile and coordinated. Meanwhile, Black Manta prepared his technology-laden assault, deploying torpedoes capable of disrupting Arthur's telepathic link with sea life. The moment the torpedoes were fired, Arthur redirected them into an abyss, using a whirlpool to absorb the energy, turning the attack against the approaching warships. Sparks and fragments of machinery illuminated the water, creating a temporary barrier that allowed Arthur and Mera to regroup and plan their next move toward Orm's stronghold. In the heart of the underwater battlefield, Arthur rallied freed trench creatures, strategic allies, and loyal Atlantean warriors. Each member of his army understood that the survival of both Atlantis and the surface world hinged on unity, not domination. The clash with Orm's forces became a ballet of precision and power, with whirlpools, tidal surges, and energy pulses orchestrating chaos that Orm could not control. Each victory brought Arthur closer to reclaiming his rightful place as king, his determination mirrored in Mera's unwavering support. The confrontation with Orm loomed inevitable. Rising from the depths, they faced one another on a jagged coral plateau, the trident crackling with energy, commanding the tides themselves. Orm struck with relentless aggression, but Arthur parried with careful precision, anticipating every movement and manipulating water currents to counter his half-brother's brute strength. Mera created protective barriers and launched offensive currents to aid Arthur, balancing the battlefield in their favor. After an epic clash, Arthur's mastery of the trident allowed him to disarm Orm without causing lethal harm, asserting authority through skill and wisdom. Orm's realization that leadership demanded more than aggression softened his fury, and he submitted to Arthur's judgment, setting the stage for reconciliation and unity among the kingdoms. Black Manta, witnessing the defeat, retreated into the shadows, plotting vengeance, but temporarily neutralized. The oceans began to calm, sunlight piercing through dissipating storm clouds, illuminating a realm ready for healing and renewal. Arthur stood victorious, yet aware that leadership was a lifelong responsibility, one that required vigilance, justice, and compassion. Mera joined him, and together they looked toward the horizon, where the balance between land and sea awaited restoration, heralding a new era for all inhabitants of the ocean. Currents shifted violently as Arthur and Mera ventured toward the Abyssal Trench, a region whispered about in Atlantean legend where ancient guardians tested the worthiness of anyone claiming true dominion over the seas. The water here was darker than the midnight ocean, illuminated only by bioluminescent flora and the occasional glint of lost artifacts resting on jagged cliffs. Each flicker of movement hinted at predators unseen, forcing Arthur to extend his mental connection, reaching out to the marine life that had pledged loyalty to him, coordinating their defense with silent precision. As they navigated through narrow chasms, Mera decoded inscriptions etched into submerged ruins, revealing the forgotten path to the trident's hidden vault. Each symbol spoke of trials of courage, wisdom, and restraint, warning that misuse of the trident's power could awaken forces older than Atlantis itself. Arthur listened carefully, feeling the weight of generations pressing on his shoulders. Understanding that leadership was more than combat prowess, it required empathy, foresight, and the capacity to forgive. Shadows shifted, and suddenly, spectral forms resembling Atlantean warriors of centuries past emerged from the trench walls, testing Arthur's resolve. The first challenge arose in the form of a colossal leviathan, its scales impervious to ordinary attacks, eyes glowing with ancient intelligence. Arthur raised the trident, summoning the currents to bind the creature's movements, while Mera created protective barriers, guiding them through the creature's reach. The leviathan tested Arthur's agility and strategy, forcing him to balance brute strength with finesse, to command not only the trident but also the creatures he sought to lead. As he landed a precise strike, the leviathan acknowledged his authority and receded into the depths, leaving a glowing symbol in the water as a token of passage. Beyond the leviathan, they discovered a cavern where water flowed upward in spirals defying gravity, a mystical phenomenon protecting the final vault. Here, illusions of Orm and Black Manta appeared, each reflecting Arthur's inner doubts and fears. He saw his mother Atlanna's face twisted in judgment, heard whispers of failure echoing in the currents, and felt the immense responsibility of balancing human and Atlantean worlds. Mera's steady voice cut through the illusions, reminding him that true leadership required clarity and trust in his own instincts. Together, they moved forward, ignoring the phantoms, until the spirals collapsed, revealing the trident's resting place on a pedestal of coral and glowing crystals. Arthur approached the trident, feeling its immense energy resonate with the currents around him, linking all 7 kingdoms in a web of power and responsibility. Mera touched the base, verifying ancient runes that indicated he was the rightful heir, capable of uniting the underwater realms and bridging the ocean with the surface world. The moment he gripped the trident, a surge of knowledge flooded his mind. Histories of kings and queens, forgotten conflicts, secrets of oceanic currents, and the responsibility of maintaining equilibrium between nature and civilization. Arthur emerged from the vault with renewed purpose, the trident's power flowing through him, making him the indisputable king of Atlantis. Above Orm marshaled his fleet at the edge of the continental shelf, intent on using the impending tidal storm to devastate coastal cities. With the trident in hand, Arthur summoned the ocean itself, creating barriers of water to redirect the storm and protect the innocent. Waves crashed against Orm's ships, disarming cannons and tossing combatants into the deep, while Arthur coordinated his allies, the trench, marine creatures, and Atlantean warriors to subdue Orm's forces with minimal casualties. The battlefield became a symphony of water, strategy, and elemental force, each movement reinforcing Arthur's role as protector rather than conqueror. Black Manta, hidden within a mechanized suit, launched a surprise strike, targeting Arthur with energy harpoons designed to pierce even the trident's defense. Arthur deflected them using the currents, sending the harpoons back toward the approaching ship, while Mera immobilized the vehicle with telekinetic control over the surrounding waters. The battle intensified as Black Manta attempted multiple attacks, each met with precise countermeasures, until the mercenary was trapped within a collapsing coral reef. Defeated but alive, setting up the potential for future vengeance. The final confrontation between Arthur and Orm unfolded in a submerged arena, encircled by massive tidal walls. Orm's raw aggression clashed with Arthur's mastery of strategy and the trident's energy. Each strike reverberated through the water, creating shockwaves that reshaped the seabed, while Mera coordinated the supporting forces, ensuring that collateral damage was minimized. Orm's attacks were fueled by anger and jealousy, yet Arthur's defense combined compassion and power, demonstrating that true leadership came from understanding, not domination. As the duel reached its climax, Arthur disarmed Orm without fatal force, compelling him to acknowledge that the oceans were not meant to be weapons, but realms of life and balance. With Orm subdued, the Atlantean kingdoms rallied under Arthur's banner, recognizing him as the unifying king. The oceans began to calm, and peace gradually returned to the surface and underwater worlds. Mera stood beside Arthur as he spoke to the assembled leaders, articulating a vision for collaboration and stewardship, emphasizing conservation, diplomacy, and protection for all marine life. The trident's glow symbolized authority, tempered by responsibility, a reminder that strength alone could not govern, only wisdom and fairness could. In the epilogue, Atlanta reunited with her son, expressing pride in the man he had become, while Thomas Curry watched from the lighthouse, knowing that his son had fulfilled his destiny. Across the kingdoms, Atlanteans repaired their cities, reintegrated with their surface allies, and embarked on initiatives to heal oceans scarred by human negligence. The final image showed Arthur and Mera rising from the waves, triumphant yet vigilant, guardians of both land and sea, heralding an era of cooperation and renewal. Currents calmed briefly as Arthur surveyed the newly unified underwater kingdoms, sensing that peace, however fragile, needed constant vigilance. Schools of fish darted through the sunlit waves above Atlantis, shimmering like liquid silver, while distant volcanoes on the ocean floor rumbled faintly, a reminder that nature's power remained untamed. Mera guided Arthur through ceremonial halls adorned with coral and bioluminescent flora, each chamber representing centuries of Atlantean history and struggle, reinforcing the weight of his rule. As the Atlantean Council convened, debates arose over trade with surface nations, fishing boundaries, and defense protocols. Arthur listened, weighing tradition against innovation, recalling lessons from his father and his mother, Atlanta, who had always balanced courage with compassion. Mera intervened, mediating tensions with clarity and empathy, reminding leaders that unity would protect both oceans and humans alike. Arthur's mind remained focused, knowing that challenges were constant, but with allies like Mera and Vulko, strategic decisions could secure lasting stability. Meanwhile, beyond the protective reefs, subtle disturbances hinted at unrest in distant waters. Rogue factions, distrustful of Arthur's leadership, began to organize clandestine patrols, testing the trident's reach. Arthur trained with his elite guards, synchronizing mental commands with the marine creatures loyal to him, building a network of defenders prepared to respond instantly. He navigated the labyrinthine trenches, teaching younger Atlanteans how to anticipate currents and predict predator behavior, instilling respect for both life and power. In the northern waters, remnants of Black Manta's faction scavenged for technology to challenge Arthur's rule. David Kane, imprisoned but still scheming, communicated with his allies using coded signals through undersea currents, sending warnings and strategic advice. Arthur intercepted the transmissions, deciphering intentions without escalating conflict, reinforcing his belief that foresight and restraint could prevent unnecessary war. Each encounter with rogue factions became a lesson for his council. Diplomacy must coexist with readiness, and justice must temper strength. Arthur intercepted the transmissions, deciphering intentions without escalating conflict, reinforcing his belief that foresight and restraint could prevent unnecessary war. Each encounter with rogue factions became a lesson for his council. Diplomacy must coexist with readiness, and justice must temper strength. Simultaneously, Arthur and Mera embarked on a diplomatic journey to distant kingdoms, forging alliances through demonstrations of power tempered with mercy. Across the sunken fields in Mariana Expanse, they confronted corrupted Atlanteans and hostile sea creatures, resolving conflicts without unnecessary bloodshed. Arthur's ability to communicate with marine life proved invaluable, turning potential threats into allies by demonstrating leadership through trust, not intimidation. The oceans, once fragmented and chaotic, began to resonate with cooperation, a testament to the legitimacy of Arthur's reign. Back in Atlantis, Volko discovered ancient Atlantean scrolls detailing historical conflicts between surface humans and the underwater world, revealing long-forgotten techniques for maintaining equilibrium. Arthur studied these records, integrating ancient wisdom with modern strategy, preparing contingencies against both environmental hazards and political unrest. He foresaw threats not just from ambitious Atlantean leaders, but from humanity itself, whose careless actions could destabilize oceans once again. By blending knowledge, strength, and foresight, Arthur's leadership evolved into a holistic guardianship of all aquatic life. Amidst rising tensions, a mysterious whirlpool appeared in the Eastern Rift, radiating energy reminiscent of the Trident's magic. Arthur, Mira, and Volko investigated, encountering spectral images of past kings warning of dormant sea gods awakening. These omens challenged Arthur's resolve, forcing him to confront fears of inadequacy and destiny. With Mira's counsel, he interpreted the signs as guidance rather than threats, channeling the Trident's power to stabilize the currents and ensure safe passage for Atlantean vessels. This mastery demonstrated his growing connection to the ocean's deeper forces, solidifying his role as a king attuned to both magic and reality. As days passed, Arthur balanced governance, diplomacy, and training, with occasional skirmishes against insurgent factions, testing the cohesion of his rule. Each victory strengthened loyalty among the kingdoms, but he remained vigilant, knowing complacency could undo centuries of effort. Mira continued to advise, blending warrior skill with political insight, and Volko acted as historian and strategist, documenting Arthur's achievements for future generations. The Trident, once a symbol of conquest, now became a beacon of stability, a reminder that true power lies in responsibility and wisdom. In a quiet moment atop the Coral Palace, Arthur reflected on the journey from Maine's lighthouse to Atlantis' throne. He remembered his father's quiet encouragement, his mother's sacrifices, and the battles that had tested his mettle. The sea stretched endlessly in all directions, teeming with life, danger, and possibility. By uniting the kingdoms, Arthur not only claimed a throne but ensured the oceans thrived, setting a precedent for collaboration between land and sea. Mera stood beside him, the rising sun casting shimmering patterns across her armor, signaling that a new era had begun, one where vigilance, compassion, and courage defined leadership. Arthur's eyes scanned the horizon as waves lapped against Atlantis' outer barriers, noting subtle shifts in currents that hinted at unseen forces at play. Deep below, the trench stirred restlessly, its creatures sensing the growing confidence and unity of Arthur's reign. Mera trained alongside him, perfecting coordinated maneuvers that combined human strategy with aquatic instinct, ensuring that every soldier, every creature, and every ally could respond with precision to any threat. The palace halls echoed with discussions of trade routes, territorial waters, and defense strategies, each council meeting reinforcing the delicate balance between diplomacy and authority. A distant tremor shook the seabed, drawing Arthur and Volko to a volcanic trench that had long been dormant. Steam and molten rock mingled with icy currents, creating an unstable environment where missteps could cost lives. Arthur guided teams of Atlantean engineers to stabilize the trench, using the Trident to redirect pressures and prevent catastrophic eruptions. Each success strengthened his reputation, but whispers of dissent among minor lords reminded him that leadership was as much about perception as action. Mara's counsel emphasized patience, showing that restraint often turned potential enemies into allies. And Arthur absorbed every lesson, understanding that empathy was as powerful as raw strength. In the northern reaches, Black Manta plotted revenge with renewed determination, gathering a network of surface pirates and rogue Atlanteans who resented Arthur's authority. David Kane's obsession with the Trident had grown, and he crafted innovative weapons designed to pierce both the ocean's defenses and Arthur's command. Scouts reported sightings of unnatural currents and flashes of light beneath the wave signs that Kane was experimenting with energy derived from deep-sea volcanic vents. Arthur analyzed each threat with Volko, developing countermeasures that combined Atlantean technology with the marine army under his command. The ocean became a chessboard, with strategy and foresight guiding every move. Meanwhile, diplomacy extended beyond the water's edge. Arthur and Mera traveled to coastal human settlements, showing willingness to protect and collaborate rather than dominate. Fishermen, wary of Atlantis' power, began to understand that cooperation could prevent disasters caused by oceanic upheavals. Through careful negotiation, Arthur established communication networks linking humans and Atlanteans, creating a system for monitoring environmental hazards and illegal activities. Each successful interaction reduced tension, built trust, and reinforced the notion that his rule benefited not only the ocean, but also the surface world. A mysterious signal pulsed from a sunken Atlantean temple, drawing Arthur, Mera, and Vulko into the deep abyss. The ruins, covered in centuries of coral and marine growth, hid secrets of Atlantis' first rulers. Holographic projections illuminated hidden chambers, showing past kings negotiating treaties, waging wars, and defending the oceans. Arthur absorbed these lessons, comparing his strategies to those of the ancient rulers, understanding that history repeated itself not through ignorance but through unheeded wisdom. The discovery renewed his resolve, reinforcing his mission to govern with foresight, strength, and compassion. As the kingdoms celebrated a festival marking unity, sudden turbulence in the water signaled an impending threat. Rogue Atlantean factions had mobilized, testing the loyalty of regional governors and attempting to ignite rebellion. Arthur and Mera led a coordinated response, guiding marine creatures, armored soldiers, and elite warriors through complex battle formations. Waves of attackers surged, yet the unity forged by diplomacy, training, and trust allowed Arthur's forces to repel them efficiently. Each confrontation became a lesson in leadership, showing that power balanced with justice and strategy ensured survival while preserving life. In a rare moment of reflection, Arthur visited his father's old lighthouse, now partially submerged. Feeling the human world's fragility juxtaposed with the ocean's vastness, he remembered the lessons of humility, courage, and responsibility imparted by Thomas Curry and Atlanta alike. Mera joined him, and together they planned initiatives to protect both humans and Atlanteans from natural disasters and rogue factions. The ocean stretched endlessly, filled with potential and danger. Yet Arthur's vision remained clear, a future where unity, justice, and vigilance could maintain balance, shaping Atlantis into a kingdom respected by all beneath the waves. The currents grew colder in the northern trenches, carrying whispers of unrest as minor kingdoms tested Arthur's resolve. Scouts reported shifting alliances, small skirmishes, and strange creatures stirred by unnatural energy surges. Arthur convened his council, where Vulko, Mera, and senior Atlantean commanders weighed intelligence against speculation. Plans were drawn, contingencies set, and teams dispatched to reinforce borders, while Arthur personally led exercises simulating threats that could emerge from deep-sea fissures or pirate incursions. His presence reassured allies and warned potential aggressors that the Ocean's King did not hesitate to act decisively. Meanwhile, Black Manta refined his arsenal, combining advanced surface weaponry with stolen Atlantean relics, producing deadly hybrid devices capable of breaching defensive wards and submersible fortifications. He trained a fleet of loyal mercenaries, emphasizing stealth, speed, and unpredictability. David Kane's obsession with revenge became almost palpable, and rumors spread through human ports of an unstoppable force seeking the Trident. Arthur, monitoring these reports, realized that foresight alone was insufficient. He would need cunning, allies, and a strategic gamble to prevent an escalation that could devastate both oceans and surface cities. In the southern reaches, Arthur and Mera journeyed to negotiate with tribal rulers whose loyalty remained uncertain. The journey through labyrinthine coral canyons and bioluminescent underwater forests tested their endurance and resolve. Ambushes by rogue factions highlighted the fragility of unity. Yet, Mera's command over hydrokinetic forces and Arthur's unmatched combat skill turned dangerous encounters into opportunities to inspire allegiance. With each challenge, Arthur's understanding of the responsibilities of kingship deepened. Diplomacy and force were inseparable, and trust had to be earned through both protection and principled leadership. Back in Atlantis, Vulko uncovered ancient Atlantean texts describing lost weapons and defensive formations once used to unify the kingdoms. The texts hinted at submerged cities that contained not only wealth, but also traps designed to punish greedy rulers. Arthur led a carefully chosen expedition, navigating labyrinths, avoiding environmental hazards, and unlocking knowledge that would strengthen his kingdom without provoking fear. Each discovery reinforced his belief that Atlantis' strength lay not in domination, but in harmony balancing the ocean's power with the wisdom of the past. Black Manta's plot accelerated when he manipulated a coastal earthquake to create tidal chaos, drawing Arthur into a diversion while simultaneously striking unprotected outposts. Villages along the surface coast were devastated and marine life scattered, signaling the severity of the threat. Arthur, reacting swiftly, coordinated his forces to mitigate the damage. using his trident to stabilize currents and direct fleeing sea creatures away from danger. The confrontation forced him to adapt constantly, blending intelligence, instinct, and force. Even as the trident's power gave him authority, Arthur realized that leadership demanded more than strength. It required vision, foresight, and the capacity to anticipate the unpredictable. During a council gathering, Mera revealed intelligence that a hidden Atlantean faction was collaborating with Black Manta, seeking to exploit unrest for personal gain. Arthur, understanding that the enemy was not solely external, addressed the importance of unity within his kingdom. Teams were dispatched to investigate, neutralize threats, and secure loyalty through negotiation where possible. Each mission reinforced the notion that vigilance, not paranoia, ensured stability. Arthur's reputation grew not only as a warrior, but also as a sovereign who valued justice, fairness, and the long-term welfare of all underwater kingdoms. A sudden tidal shift near the eastern reaches signaled the approach of a colossal deep-sea creature. Drawn by the commotion caused by Black Manta's incursions, Arthur, Mera, and elite warriors confronted the beast in a dramatic underwater ballet of combat and strategy. Using precise manipulation of currents and the trident's power, they subdued the creature, earning its respect and eventual alliance. This victory demonstrated that power was most effective when tempered with understanding, as the ocean itself responded to courage, wisdom, and respect. News of Arthur's triumph spread, cementing the legitimacy of his rule across multiple kingdoms, even as challenges continued to loom on the horizon. In the quiet aftermath, Arthur revisited Atlanta's hidden sanctum, reflecting on lessons from both the surface world and the depths. He considered the balance of diplomacy, strategy, and power, realizing that true leadership required humility and resilience. Mera joined him, offering insight into the cultural nuances of distant underwater realms. Together, they planned initiatives to educate future leaders, fortify alliances, and ensure that Atlantis would thrive not merely as a dominant force, but as a beacon of unity and strength beneath the waves. The ocean, vast and unpredictable, mirrored the Arthur-Nalbora kingdom's future, intertwined with the wisdom and courage of its ruler. Arthur convened a summit among the 7 underwater kingdoms, their leaders cautious but intrigued by his vision of unity. Coral halls glimmered under filtered sunlight, councils whispered, and ancient laws were invoked to measure the king's sincerity. Arthur spoke with authority, yet tempered by humility, emphasizing cooperation, environmental stewardship, and the protection of all marine life. Mera translated his intentions into diplomatic assurances, swaying hesitant rulers with clarity, while Vulko quietly observed, noting which alliances were solid and which required careful monitoring. The fragile balance of power depended as much on perception as on actual strength. Meanwhile, Black Manta regrouped, his obsession with vengeance intensifying. He engineered mechanical leviathans to patrol key oceanic choke points, and recruited rogue Atlanteans, willing to betray their homeland for power. Hidden bases were constructed in deep-sea trenches, shielded from Atlantean surveillance. David Kane's obsession blinded him to caution, causing reckless strikes that nearly exposed his location. Arthur, informed by Mera's reconnaissance and Vulko's intelligence network, began planning countermeasures, deploying divers and guardians to intercept attacks before they escalated. Each encounter tested Arthur's tactical ingenuity, forcing him to adapt rapidly to threats that combined human cunning with Atlantean technology. In a remote section of the southern reaches, Arthur discovered a series of ancient ruins, believed to predate Atlantis itself. The structures, etched with cryptic glyphs and partially submerged, hinted at a civilization whose knowledge of oceanic currents, sea monsters, and hydrokinetic manipulation surpassed modern Atlantean science. Arthur studied the glyphs with Vulko, uncovering techniques that could enhance defensive capabilities and communication across the vast underwater realm. These discoveries became pivotal in preparing for Black Manta's next offensive, providing strategic advantages while deepening Arthur's understanding of the ocean's hidden secrets and the responsibilities of kingship across millennia. The first major confrontation erupted near the eastern abyss, where Black Manta unleashed a fleet of mechanized warships and enhanced submarines designed to penetrate Atlantean defenses. Arthur led a coordinated response, summoning allies from allied kingdoms and marshalling marine creatures trained to disrupt enemy formations. Hydrokinetic currents were redirected to ensnare vessels. Tridents flashed in synchronization with tactical maneuvers, and colossal sea creatures intervened in crucial moments. The battle raged across vertical columns of water and light, with Arthur personally confronting Manta beneath a collapsing cavern of coral and jagged rock. Victory was narrowly achieved, but the cost was high. defensive positions were damaged, and trust between some minor kingdoms wavered, revealing vulnerabilities Arthur had yet to fully address. After the skirmish, Arthur returned to Atlantis to repair infrastructure, train forces, and strategize further. Mera organized diplomatic missions to reaffirm alliances, while Vulko analyzed Black Manta's methods to anticipate his next move. Arthur, aware that surface humans remained oblivious to the oceanic conflict, debated whether intervention on land was necessary, or if the ocean itself could be used to neutralize threats. The king's decisions carried immense weight, balancing security with ethical responsibility, as one misstep could ignite a war, not only under the sea, but along coastal cities as well. Black Manta, frustrated by repeated defeats, turned to cunning rather than brute force. He infiltrated Atlantean archives, deciphering historical knowledge to exploit weaknesses in the Oceanic Kingdom's defense. Booby traps were laid in submerged channels, and misinformation campaigns aimed to erode trust among allied rulers. Arthur, sensing the disruption but unaware of the exact source, intensified training regimens and surveillance, realizing that victory required both intelligence and intuition. Every move tested his leadership, as the line between strategy and recklessness blurred in the high-stakes chess game beneath the waves. Arthur and Mera embarked on a reconnaissance mission to a previously unexplored trench system, rumored to house sentient aquatic species, capable of influencing the tides and currents. The journey was perilous, with unpredictable whirlpools, thermal vents, and shadowy predators. They navigated using a combination of trident-guided energy and environmental cues, gaining the trust of these hidden creatures through demonstrations of strength, diplomacy, and restraint. Their alliance added a powerful new force to Arthur's defense network, further expanding the scope of his influence and reinforcing his legitimacy as a king capable of uniting diverse, intelligent life forms in the ocean. As winter currents swept across the northern territories, Black Manta initiated a coordinated strike, leveraging environmental hazards to his advantage. Rogue factions attempted to destabilize supply lines, create diversions, and ambush key Atlantean outposts. Arthur, anticipating the multi-front attack, deployed countermeasures that combined intelligence from his reconnaissance missions, tactical prowess, and the strategic positioning of allied creatures. Battles erupted in underwater canyons, coral fortresses, and thermal vents, each fight demonstrating the complexity of modern warfare under the sea and the necessity of unity, foresight, and decisive action. After the conflict, Arthur convened a second summit, reinforcing the importance of shared responsibility among the kingdoms. Discussions emphasized education, emergency protocols, and technological innovation, creating a culture of resilience rather than fear. While Black Manta continued to plot in secret, the oceanic realm, under Arthur's leadership, demonstrated unprecedented stability and cooperation. The king, reflecting on the past months, understood that his role extended beyond commanding the seas. It encompassed vision, diplomacy, and an unwavering commitment to the welfare of all inhabitants, human or marine, above and below the waves. Arthur and Mera traveled to the sunken archives, a labyrinthine underwater library buried beneath centuries of silt and coral. Shelves of preserved scrolls, carved stones, and holographic Atlantean records revealed forgotten techniques for controlling tides, summoning marine creatures, and harnessing elemental currents. Vulko guided them through dangerous passageways, explaining the historical conflicts among Atlantis' ancient kingdoms and the recurring threats from surface humans. As they studied, Arthur realized that knowledge alone was insufficient. He needed unity, trust, and foresight to apply it effectively, especially with Black Manta scheming in the shadows. Meanwhile, Black Manta perfected his underwater armaments, combining stolen Atlantean technology with his own innovations. Mechanized manta rays, armed with torpedoes and energy disruptors, patrolled key trade routes and strategic straits. David Kane, fueled by vengeance, orchestrated coordinated strikes, aiming to destabilize Arthur's alliances and demonstrate that the surface world could not remain indifferent to Atlantean affairs. Each attack tested Arthur's ability to respond under pressure, forcing him to rely not only on brute strength but on strategy, diplomacy, and the loyalty of marine allies and allied kingdoms alike. The first confrontation erupted near the Abyssal Rift, a treacherous trench where currents could shift in seconds and crushing pressures punished the unwary. Arthur led an amphibious assault with coordinated trident strikes, hydrokinetic maneuvers, and summoned sea creatures. Giant squids wrapped around Manta's mechanized forces, while schools of razor-sharp fish disrupted torpedo arrays. Amid the chaos, Arthur faced Black Manta directly, their duel beneath jagged cliffs illuminated by phosphorescent algae. Victory was achieved through ingenuity rather than sheer power, though collateral damage revealed the fragility of Arthur's network and the need for more rigorous coordination among his allies. Following the battle, Arthur convened a council in Atlantis' capital city, Atlantis Palace, gleaming with coral spires and bioluminescent chambers. He reviewed lessons from the Abyssal Rift, emphasizing communication, contingency planning, and mutual protection among the kingdoms. Mera orchestrated diplomatic meetings with envoys from minor kingdoms, reinforcing loyalty and ensuring continued cooperation. Vulko, quietly analytical, identified weak points in both defensive protocols and political alliances, advising that knowledge, speed, and perception were equally important as power in preserving stability. Arthur embarked on a diplomatic mission to the northern reaches, home to tribes specialized in sonar-based communication and deep-sea navigation. The journey was perilous, with unpredictable whirlpools, thermal vents, and territorial predators. By demonstrating restraint, courage, and respect for local traditions, Arthur earned the trust of these tribes, adding their advanced skills to his alliance. Mera facilitated discussions, translating cultural nuances and ensuring consensus. These alliances expanded Arthur's sphere of influence, solidifying his position as a king capable of integrating diverse societies into a unified defense network beneath the ocean. Black Manta, enraged by repeated setbacks, resorted to deception and subterfuge. He infiltrated Atlantean intelligence channels, planting false reports and sowing distrust among minor kingdoms. Rogue factions attempted sabotage, targeting supply lines, training grounds, and key communication hubs. Arthur responded by improving surveillance, deploying loyal guardians, and using advanced hydrokinetic mapping to anticipate attacks. Battles flared in coral fortresses, sunken cities, and deep trenches, testing both tactical ingenuity and the cohesion of newly allied forces. Each encounter reinforced the necessity of foresight, vigilance, and a balance between force and diplomacy. During a reconnaissance mission to the Abyssal Plains, Arthur and Mera discovered a hidden ecosystem dominated by ancient leviathans. These sentient creatures, initially wary, were convinced to ally with Atlantis through demonstrations of strength, ethical leadership, and mutual respect. They granted Arthur knowledge of currents, predator patterns, and hidden pathways, significantly enhancing his strategic advantage. The partnership highlighted Arthur's ability to blend diplomacy with power, integrating even the most enigmatic creatures into his defense of the ocean, and demonstrating his legitimacy as a ruler respected by both humans and marine life alike. As winter storms intensified across the northern territories, Black Manta launched a coordinated offensive, leveraging environmental hazards to mask his maneuvers. Rogue Atlantean factions created diversions and ambushed supply convoys. Arthur, anticipating multi-front attacks, deployed hydrokinetic barriers, strategic patrols, and allied leviathans to counteract the assaults. Battles were fought in caverns, trenches, and coral spires, each engagement testing strategy, endurance, and the loyalty of allies. The complexity of warfare under the sea emphasized the importance of unity, preparation, and ethical leadership, which Arthur exemplified even under extreme pressure. Following the conflict, Arthur convened a second summit among the Seven Kingdoms, reinforcing the principles of shared responsibility, environmental stewardship, and coordinated defense. Discussions emphasized education, emergency preparedness, and technological advancement, fostering resilience and a culture of cooperation rather than fear. Black Manta remained at large, plotting from hidden bases, but Arthur's alliances demonstrated unprecedented stability in the underwater realm. Arthur, reflecting on these months of challenge and triumph, recognized that his role encompassed more than command. It required vision, diplomacy, and unwavering commitment to all life beneath the waves, human and marine alike. Arthur and Mera journeyed to the sunken ruins of Lemuria, an ancient city swallowed by the ocean centuries ago. Coral-covered spires jutted through the murky depths, while schools of luminous fish traced the outlines of forgotten statues and palaces. Vulko led the exploration, deciphering cryptic inscriptions that revealed knowledge of Atlantean warfare, governance, and diplomacy lost to time. Arthur studied each symbol, aware that understanding the mistakes and triumphs of the past would shape his leadership in the present. Every corner of the ruins tested their agility, with collapsing arches, sudden whirlpools, and territorial sea serpents demanding both courage and precision. Meanwhile, Black Manta regrouped in the Mariana outpost, constructing a fleet of submersible warships enhanced with Atlantean propulsion systems and advanced sonar cloaking. David Kane trained his crew in stealth tactics, energy-based weaponry, and underwater sabotage techniques. Determined to outmaneuver Arthur, he unleashed rogue submarines to intercept Atlantean trade vessels and disrupt resource supplies, hoping to fracture the fragile alliances Arthur had forged. Each attack forced Arthur to adapt, combining brute strength with strategic maneuvering and the trust he had built among the allied kingdoms. Arthur convened a council with Mera and representatives from Zebul, the Brine, and the northern reaches. Mapping defensive positions and sharing intelligence about Manta's fleet, they implemented patrol rotations, coordinated communication channels, and contingency plans for civilian evacuation routes. Mera emphasized environmental preservation alongside defense, highlighting that unchecked destruction would only foster resentment among neutral or undecided kingdoms. The council's decisions reflected Arthur's growth, as he balanced compassion, foresight, and tactical necessity. The first major clash erupted near the Rift Trench, a deep chasm where geothermal vents spouted boiling water, creating turbulent currents and dangerous temperature fluctuations. Black Manta's submersibles attempted to lure Arthur's forces into the trench, relying on environmental hazards to incapacitate allies. Arthur countered by summoning marine creatures to disrupt the attack, including hammerhead sharks to disable torpedo systems and colossal squids to entangle enemy vessels. Manta himself engaged directly, clashing with Arthur in an underwater duel amid jagged rock formations. Their battle combined hydrokinetic strikes, rapid swimming maneuvers, and precise weapon deployment, showcasing both strength and intelligence. Following the skirmish, Arthur visited the coral courts of Zebel, negotiating peace treaties with neighboring factions and reinforcing loyalty through demonstrations of leadership and respect for cultural traditions. Mera facilitated these discussions, translating nuances and ensuring every agreement was mutually beneficial. Volko provided counsel, advising Arthur on historical precedents, potential betrayals, and strategic deployment of forces. Arthur recognized that diplomacy, alongside combat readiness, was essential in unifying the underwater kingdoms against both internal and external threats. Black Manta launched a surprise offensive against the supply reefs, targeting food stores, weapon caches, and medical facilities. Using advanced Atlantean technology, he triggered controlled landslides and diverted currents to create chaos. Arthur responded by deploying rapid response teams, hydrokinetic shields, and strategic ambushes using sea life and underwater terrain. Mera coordinated logistics and communication, ensuring that civilian casualties were minimized and supply lines were restored. This engagement highlighted the delicate balance between aggression and protection, testing Arthur's capacity to lead decisively while maintaining ethical principles. During a reconnaissance of the abyssal plains, Arthur and Mera discovered a hidden network of ancient Atlantean tunnels that connected multiple kingdoms. These passages, previously unknown, offered strategic advantages for transportation, surprise attacks, and evacuation. They also contained artifacts detailing Atlantean history, governance, and technological advancements. Arthur studied these artifacts carefully, understanding that knowledge of the past was critical to shaping a resilient and unified underwater society. Volko assisted in interpreting inscriptions, revealing lost techniques for energy manipulation, hydrokinetic augmentation, and tactical formation deployment. The next confrontation occurred near the Sapphire Falls, a cascading underwater waterfall system where currents created unpredictable turbulence. Black Manta's forces attempted to ambush Allied convoys using torpedo barrages and mechanical drones. Arthur responded with coordinated hydrokinetic attacks, directing marine creatures to neutralize threats and safeguard allies. In the chaos, he engaged Manta directly, leveraging environmental conditions and swift tactical thinking to gain the upper hand. Victory was achieved not merely through brute force, but through precise strategy, teamwork, and adaptability, reinforcing Arthur's growth as a leader capable of balancing power with wisdom. After the battle, Arthur convened a second summit of allied kingdoms in the sunken palace of Brine, emphasizing the importance of unity, resilience, and foresight. Discussions focused on technological innovation, environmental stewardship, and strategic training, ensuring that future generations could maintain peace and stability. Black Manta remained a persistent threat, operating from hidden enclaves and exploiting unrest, but Arthur's alliances demonstrated unprecedented cohesion and readiness. Reflecting on these months of conflict, Arthur understood that true kingship required vision, ethical leadership, and unwavering commitment to protecting both people and marine life. Arthur and Mera navigated the shadow reefs, a labyrinth of jagged coral cliffs and darkened crevices where sunlight barely penetrated the waters. Bioluminescent creatures illuminated the paths in eerie patterns, creating shifting shadows that made every movement uncertain. Vulko guided them through the narrow corridors, warning that even the smallest misstep could trigger territorial predators or collapse fragile coral formations. Arthur moved cautiously, using his hydrokinetic sense to detect hidden threats and anticipate sudden currents, while Mera maintained a constant awareness of their surroundings, ready to strike or defend at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, Black Manta had established a fortified base within the abyssal rift, retrofitting ancient Atlantean ruins with advanced weaponry and cloaking technology. David Kane honed his tactical strategies, using sonar mapping to track allied movements and plan ambushes. He experimented with energy pulses capable of disrupting hydrokinetic control, hoping to neutralize Arthur's command over marine life. Each test mission highlighted the tension between ingenuity and recklessness, as Kane pushed his crew to operate on the edge of their limits, knowing that failure could mean capture or worse, death. Arthur and Mera intercepted intelligence about an impending attack on the northern reaches, where allied kingdoms had stockpiled vital resources and medical supplies. They coordinated a rapid response team composed of elite Atlantean warriors and trusted marine creatures, moving swiftly through the shadow reefs to reach the threatened area. The currents intensified as they approached, requiring precise navigation and communication. Mera deployed telepathic guidance, ensuring each unit maintained cohesion, while Arthur led the assault against Black Manta's advancing forces. The clash was intense, with torpedoes detonating in turbulent eddies and hydrokinetic blasts countering energy weapons, as both sides fought for strategic control of the region. During the engagement, Arthur faced Manta directly atop the coral spire, a towering formation that rose from the ocean floor. Waves of energy and water surged around them, creating a chaotic battlefield where every strike could have catastrophic consequences. Manta unleashed a prototype Atlantean blade, designed to penetrate even the strongest hydrokinetic shields. Arthur countered with precise water manipulation, redirecting currents and debris to disable the weapon and force Manta into retreat. The confrontation demonstrated not only strength but also ingenuity and adaptability, as Arthur balanced offense with defense, ensuring minimal collateral damage to surrounding ecosystems. After the battle, Arthur convened a strategic council in the Crystal Halls, a subterranean palace of refracted light and natural formations, where representatives of Zebel, Brine, and northern reaches gathered. The discussion centered on long-term defense, intelligence sharing, and resource distribution to sustain both military and civilian populations. Mera advocated for incorporating environmental preservation into every strategic decision, emphasizing that destruction of the reefs or waterways would erode alliances and fuel dissent. Vulko provided historical context, detailing past conflicts and their resolutions, reinforcing the importance of wisdom alongside martial prowess. Black Manta, frustrated by repeated failures, sought to escalate his tactics by acquiring a mythical artifact rumored to amplify hydrokinetic energy, hidden within the abyssal catacombs. David Kane enlisted mercenary divers and engineered submersibles capable of traversing the labyrinthine tunnels, intending to seize the artifact before Arthur could intervene. His strategy involved deception, leveraging false intelligence to lure Arthur into a trap while securing the artifact for himself. The meticulous planning reflected Kane's growing obsession with vengeance, as he prioritized personal vendetta over broader political consequences. Arthur and Mera, learning of Kane's intentions, mounted a covert operation to intercept the artifact before it fell into enemy hands, navigating treacherous currents, unstable caverns, and aggressive sea creatures. They relied on a combination of hydrokinetic abilities, telepathic coordination, and tactical foresight. Along the way, Arthur reflected on the responsibilities of leadership, recognizing that protecting the underwater kingdoms required more than martial skill. It demanded foresight, ethical judgment, and the ability to inspire trust among allies. The final confrontation for the artifact took place in the heart of the abyssal catacombs, where pressure, darkness, and unpredictable water surges created a deadly environment. Arthur and Kane clashed, the artifact amplifying the intensity of their hydrokinetic exchanges. Rocks, currents, and energy pulses collided, creating cascading waves that threatened to collapse the tunnels. Mera intervened, neutralizing rogue mercenaries and stabilizing sections of the catacombs, allowing Arthur to secure the artifact. Kane, defeated but alive, retreated into the depths, vowing future retaliation. With the artifacts secured, Arthur and Mera returned to the allied kingdoms, reinforcing defenses and sharing newfound knowledge gained from the abyssal catacombs. The operation strengthened trust among allied factions, demonstrating that unity, strategy, and moral integrity could withstand even the most technologically advanced threats. Arthur reflected on the lessons learned. Leadership required not only power, but also empathy, foresight, and a commitment to safeguarding life, both human and marine. Arthur convened a summit of the underwater kingdoms in the Grand Hall of Coral, a massive chamber where sunlight filtered through crystalline formations, casting shifting patterns across the marble-like floor. Representatives from Zebel, Brine, Northern Reaches, and the Fisherman's Kingdom gathered, their expressions a mix of skepticism, hope, and cautious respect. Arthur spoke of unity, emphasizing that the survival of Atlantis and the surface world depended on cooperation rather than conquest. Mera stood beside him, projecting calm authority as she elaborated on environmental stewardship, demonstrating that the health of the oceans was inseparable from political stability. Meanwhile, Black Manta retreated to a hidden trench along the southern abyss, assembling a cadre of rogue mercenaries and disgruntled Atlanteans. David Kane meticulously engineered a series of underwater drones equipped with energy disruptors, designed to neutralize hydrokinetic abilities and create chaos among Arthur's forces. Kane's obsession with revenge had grown into a strategic campaign, each plan more intricate than the last. His resources expanded through alliances with surface world arms dealers who shared his disregard for Atlantean law. His preparation was methodical, anticipating Arthur's movements and exploiting potential weaknesses in the kingdom's newly established defenses. As Arthur and Mera inspected the outer defenses of the northern reaches, patrolling with elite Atlantean guards and marine allies, they detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the southern abyss. Suspicion confirmed by Vulko, who analyzed historical data on tectonic movements and energy anomalies, indicated that Kane was amassing a force capable of breaching the kingdom's protective boundaries. Arthur decided to act preemptively, gathering a strike team composed of Zebel warriors, Brine guardians, and loyal marine creatures. Each member understood the stakes. Failure could result in catastrophic loss of life and destabilization of the fragile political alliances Arthur had worked so hard to cultivate. The assault on Kane's stronghold was a ballet of chaos and strategy. Hydrokinetic blasts carved pathways through debris, while coordinated telepathic signals allowed allied forces to move in perfect synchrony, despite the unpredictability of currents and pressure fluctuations. Kane deployed energy disruptors, forcing Arthur to adapt continuously, creating barriers of water and redirecting attacks to minimize casualties. Mera's precision strikes incapacitated key mercenary operatives, giving Arthur the opportunity to confront Kane directly. The confrontation was fierce, combining brute strength, tactical foresight, and creative hydrokinetic maneuvers, each combatant pushing the boundaries of their abilities in a deadly underwater arena. Arthur secured the stronghold and neutralized Kane's energy disruptors, but Kane himself escaped through a labyrinth of side tunnels, leaving a message of warning that his vengeance would continue. The victory, while tactical, was only a temporary reprieve, emphasizing the ongoing tension between personal vendetta and the greater good. Arthur returned to Atlantis with the strike team, reinforcing alliances, repairing infrastructure, and rebuilding trust among skeptical faction leaders. The campaign underscored a critical lesson. Leadership demanded not only strength, but also the wisdom to anticipate threats, mitigate risks, and maintain unity under pressure. During the aftermath, Arthur explored newly discovered ruins in the eastern trenches, encountering remnants of ancient Atlantean civilizations. These sites contained artifacts and inscriptions detailing past conflicts, trade networks, and governance structures, providing insights into strategies that had preserved stability and prosperity for centuries. Vulko assisted in deciphering these historical records, drawing parallels between the successes and failures of past rulers and the current challenges faced by Atlantis. The discoveries reinforced Arthur's understanding of leadership, showing that knowledge of history, coupled with moral integrity, was as essential as physical power in maintaining the kingdom's survival. As weeks passed, Arthur's reputation as a king of both courage and wisdom grew among the kingdoms. Mara's council ensured that environmental concerns were integrated into every strategic and political decision, from resource allocation to military training. Atlantis flourished under their joint leadership, balancing technological advancement with preservation of natural ecosystems. Communities previously divided by mistrust began to cooperate, sharing resources, intelligence, and cultural practices, fostering a renewed sense of identity and shared purpose. The threat of Cain remained, but the kingdoms were more united than ever, ready to face future challenges as a cohesive force. In a parallel arc, David Cain forged secret pacts with surface world arms suppliers, gathering intelligence on Arthur's movements and Atlantis' technological capabilities. His obsession with the trident, coupled with a desire for revenge, drove him to experiment with new weaponry and hybrid technologies capable of breaching Atlantean defenses. Each innovation brought Cain closer to a confrontation with Arthur, raising the stakes for both personal vengeance and the larger geopolitical equilibrium of the underwater realms. Cain's narrative, intertwined with Arthur's efforts to build unity, created a dynamic tension between moral leadership and unbridled ambition. Highlighting the contrasting paths of heroism and obsession, Arthur convened an emergency council in the central chamber of Atlantis' royal palace, its crystalline walls reflecting the flickering light of glowing seaflora. Leaders from the outer kingdoms, once wary of each other, now shared intelligence about Black Manta's growing network of mercenaries and rogue operatives. Arthur detailed a three-pronged strategy: fortify vulnerable coastal territories, intercept Cain's supply routes, and establish rapid response squads, using marine creatures as scouts. Mera emphasized the importance of diplomacy alongside military might, reminding Arthur that alliances could collapse if fear replaced trust. The council debated tactics into the night, their voices echoing against coral columns as currents whispered outside, carrying the distant calls of whales and leviathans. Meanwhile, Cain's forces constructed a hidden armory in the abyssal plains, a labyrinthine fortress of jagged rock and abandoned shipwrecks, rigged with energy disruptors, automated defenses, and traps designed for Aquaman's hydrokinetic attacks. David Cain tested each system meticulously, calculating Arthur's likely maneuvers and predicting potential weaknesses in Atlantis communication channels. He trained a squad of enhanced divers, outfitted with Atlantean technology, scavenged from previous skirmishes, preparing for a strike capable of crippling multiple kingdoms simultaneously. Each night, Cain reviewed holographic maps of ocean currents and tidal patterns, coordinating his attack plans with military precision, while his hatred for Arthur and Mera burned like a deep-sea fire. Arthur and Mera led reconnaissance missions into the northern reaches, navigating jagged canyons and glowing hydrothermal vents that concealed hidden sea monsters. Using a combination of telepathic communication and hydrokinetic precision, they mapped the terrain, identifying choke points and ambush locations where Cain might stage attacks. Arthur's encounters with hostile creatures tested his skills, forcing him to adapt rapidly, while Mera's strategic input ensured that every decision prioritized both safety and tactical advantage. Vulko, monitoring remotely from Atlantis, provided historical context, revealing ancient battlegrounds and the locations of dormant Atlantean defensive mechanisms buried beneath centuries of sediment. As Cain launched his first offensive, Arthur's forces intercepted a convoy of supply pods, laden with energy disruptors and experimental weaponry. The ensuing underwater battle was a symphony of chaos and control. Arthur manipulated water currents to trap enemy divers. Marine beasts attacked from unexpected angles, and Mera's telepathic control neutralized key targets without collateral damage. Despite their success, Arthur realized Cain's attacks were only the beginning. The true assault would require direct confrontation and would test both the physical and moral limits of Atlantis leadership. Arthur then embarked on a journey to the sunken archives, a hidden repository containing relics, historical records, and battle strategies of past Atlantean kings. Within these vaults, he discovered detailed schematics for defensive structures, ancient hydrokinetic techniques, and artifacts with latent powers. Among the artifacts was a relic known as the Tidal Crown, said to amplify a ruler's connection with the ocean and enhance command over marine life. Recognizing its strategic value, Arthur trained to harness its power, combining it with his existing abilities, while ensuring that its use would not destabilize the surrounding marine ecosystem. Meanwhile, Cain, aware that Arthur had discovered the sunken archives, deployed a stealth squad to infiltrate the area and steal intelligence on Atlantean defenses. The mission was nearly successful until Arthur and Mera, guided by Vulko's warnings, intercepted the infiltrators in a maze of kelp forests and ancient ruins. Using synchronized hydrokinetic maneuvers and coordinated attacks with marine allies, they neutralized Cain's team while gathering critical intelligence about his larger plans. The encounter revealed Kane's willingness to sacrifice operatives to achieve his goals, further highlighting the moral gulf between him and Arthur. As the battle for Atlantis escalated, Arthur coordinated multi-kingdom exercises, integrating warriors, marine creatures, and technological resources into a cohesive force. He established patrol networks, trained new recruits, and implemented contingency plans for potential sabotage or betrayal. Mera, focusing on diplomacy, reached out to neutral factions, securing their allegiance and ensuring that Atlantis unity remained strong even under the threat of Kane's attacks. The preparation was exhaustive, but necessary. Arthur understood that only through meticulous planning and unwavering leadership could Atlantis survive the coming storm. David Kane, undeterred by previous failures, began designing a massive underwater warship, capable of breaching the outer defenses of Atlantis and delivering an army of mercenaries deep into the heart of the kingdom. He experimented with hybrid propulsion systems, cloaking devices, and high-yield hydro disruptors designed specifically to counter Arthur's abilities. Each development brought the confrontation closer, escalating the stakes and forcing Arthur to anticipate not only the physical threat, but also the psychological manipulation Kane wielded over the surface world and rogue factions within the seas. Amidst the preparations, Arthur and Mera shared moments of reflection, considering the moral and ethical implications of leadership. They discussed the fine line between strength and tyranny, the responsibilities of power, and the necessity of protecting not just Atlantis, but all marine life connected to it. These conversations deepened their bond and informed Arthur's strategic decisions, ensuring that every military or political action was tempered with compassion and foresight. The kingdom's future depended not only on victory, but also on the sustainability of the environment and the well-being of its citizens. Arthur and Mera convened with allied commanders along the shimmering trenches, a sprawling network of coral towers and bioluminescent caves, preparing for Kane's anticipated assault. Scouts reported unusual currents and unfamiliar sonar signals, suggesting Kane had deployed advanced Atlantean-derived technology. Arthur adjusted the patrols, assigning rapid response teams to monitor each choke point, while Mera coordinated with neighboring kingdoms to ensure that no flank went unguarded. The trench's twisting pathways became a training ground and a defensive stronghold, the creatures of the deep responding instinctively to Arthur's presence, their movements weaving a living network of surveillance and protection. Meanwhile, Kane initiated a covert strike against Atlantis' supply lines, sending modified submarines through deep-water canyons to disrupt food shipments and energy conduits. Arthur intercepted the first wave near the abyssal spires, where towering rock formations funneled the attackers into predictable paths. Using synchronized hydrokinetic currents, he trapped enemy vessels against the spires, while Mera unleashed telepathic commands that confused and incapacitated Kane's operatives. Despite their advantage, Arthur sensed Kane's larger strategy. These attacks were distractions designed to divide Atlantis' forces and weaken morale, signaling a more decisive strike looming on the horizon. Vulko, observing from the palace's observation hall, reported that Kane had acquired fragments of the ancient Atlantean armory, a collection of relics believed lost during the centuries of underwater conflict. If Kane completed the assembly, he could wield devastating power, capable of toppling the kingdoms. Arthur and Mera immediately dispatched reconnaissance teams to the locations where fragments were rumored to be hidden. Sunken temples, collapsed shipwrecks, and volcanic fissures deep beneath the ocean floor. Each expedition was perilous, requiring careful navigation past natural hazards and rogue predators, while avoiding detection by Kane's surveillance network. During one mission near the Moor of Despair, Arthur faced an ambush by engineered hybrid sea beasts, a combination of trench creatures and Atlantean-enhanced predatory species. The encounter tested his reflexes, strength, and control over the surrounding water currents, forcing him to adapt on the fly to the beast's unpredictable attacks. Mera provided real-time strategic guidance, using her telepathic abilities to coordinate strikes against the creatures, while preventing collateral damage to the fragile ecosystem. The battle ended with Arthur emerging victorious, but aware that Kane's technological prowess had escalated the threat beyond simple brute force confrontations. In the surface world, Stephen Shin maneuvered politically to gain support from coastal nations, claiming that Kane's rogue operations threatened both marine and human settlements. While some nations hesitated, fearing confrontation with Atlantis, others pledged resources and intelligence, indirectly aiding Arthur's planning. Shin's actions created a tenuous alliance between surface forces and Atlantean loyalists, though mistrust lingered on both sides. Arthur understood the necessity of diplomacy, balancing the strength of the ocean's armies with careful engagement with human allies. Aware that failure could isolate Atlantis and leave it vulnerable to Kane's full-scale assault, Kane, anticipating Arthur's interference, launched a decoy assault on the eastern reaches, employing heavily armed divers and modified aquatic drones to simulate the main attack. Arthur quickly identified the ruse and redirected forces to counter the true threat: a direct strike on the royal palace in Atlantis' central basin. Using the trident of Atlan, he generated protective currents and barriers, turning the palace's natural architecture into a defensive labyrinth. Kane's forces were partially repelled, but Arthur realized that Kane's intelligence on Atlantean defenses had improved, hinting at a spy or insider feeding information to the rogue mercenary. Amid the chaos, Arthur received intelligence from an unexpected source: a faction of the trench creatures, previously hostile, had defected after witnessing Arthur's protective efforts toward their domain. These creatures, numbering in the hundreds, offered both reconnaissance and combat assistance, providing real-time intelligence about Kane's movements in exchange for protection and respect for their territory. Mera facilitated the alliance, negotiating terms that emphasized mutual benefit and respect for the delicate balance of the ocean ecosystem. Arthur's forces gained a crucial edge, demonstrating the power of leadership rooted in empathy and understanding rather than fear and dominance. Arthur, Mera, and Vulko convened to formulate a counter-strategy for Kane's impending final assault. They planned to draw Kane's forces into the Chasm of Echoes, a narrow underwater canyon known for amplifying sound waves and currents. Arthur would use the canyon's natural acoustics and water dynamics to disrupt Kane's navigational systems, while allied marine creatures would execute ambushes from hidden alcoves. Simultaneously, Mera coordinated surface allies to create diversions, ensuring Kane's attention remained divided and increasing the likelihood of disarray within his ranks. Every detail was scrutinized, every contingency considered, reflecting the culmination of months of preparation, training, and strategic innovation. As the day of confrontation arrived, Kane's armada advanced toward Atlantis, a blend of human technology, stolen Atlantean relics, and mercenary forces. The underwater battlefield lit up with bioluminescent flares, the energy from Atlantean weapons reflecting off the walls of coral towers. Arthur led the charge, coordinating attacks with precision, while Mera deployed telepathic signals to direct reinforcements. The clash was brutal, combining physical combat, strategic maneuvering, and elemental control of water currents. Kane's forces were formidable, but Arthur's intimate knowledge of Atlantis, combined with the loyalty of marine allies and the strategic guidance of Vulko, allowed the defenders to maintain cohesion and counter every move. Amid the battle, David Kane confronted Arthur directly, wielding the Atlantean battlesuit enhanced with energy disruptors. The duel was intense. Arthur leveraged the trident's powers, channeling the ocean itself to counter Kane's assaults, while Mera provided support by redirecting nearby currents and protecting the city's infrastructure. The confrontation revealed the stark contrast between Kane's calculated aggression and Arthur's leadership tempered with morality and responsibility. Each strike carried both physical and symbolic weight, representing the struggle not only for Atlantis but for the principles upon which it was built. The battle reached a critical turning point when Arthur, recognizing Kane's increasing desperation, exploited a vulnerability in the hybrid sea beasts accompanying the rogue forces. Using the trident, he created controlled whirlpools that separated Kane from his main army, neutralized key weapon systems, and allowed Mera and allied forces to disable remaining threats. Kane, realizing his defeat was imminent, attempted a final assault. But Arthur's decisive combination of power, strategy, and leadership overwhelmed him. Kane was captured, his plans dismantled, and his mercenary network disbanded, restoring relative peace to Atlantis and its surrounding territories. In the aftermath of Kane's defeat, Arthur convened a council with leaders of the remaining underwater kingdoms. Tension lingered, as centuries of rivalry and distrust could not be erased overnight. Arthur's first order was to implement a unified communication network linking Atlantis, Zebel, the Brine, and the Fishermen, allowing rapid coordination in case of external threats. Mera facilitated diplomatic negotiations, leveraging her reputation and the loyalty of her people to build consensus. The leaders debated, argued, and ultimately agreed on a tentative alliance, recognizing that cooperation was essential not only to defend their realms, but to ensure stability across the oceans. Meanwhile, Arthur focused on rebuilding the war-torn sections of Atlantis. Coral towers shattered in battle were carefully reconstructed, and the palace's defense systems were upgraded with both Atlantean engineering and natural oceanic elements. Marine life, displaced or injured during the conflict, was tended to under Volko's supervision, ensuring that ecological balance was restored. Arthur and Mera worked alongside their people, demonstrating leadership through action, instilling hope, and fostering a renewed sense of community. Even minor acts, like personally guiding schools of fish back to their habitats, sent a message that the ocean's ruler understood and respected every aspect of his kingdom. On the surface, Stephen Shin faced scrutiny from global authorities for his interference in Atlantean affairs. While some nations hailed his efforts to prevent Kane's human-led operations, others criticized him for overstepping boundaries. Arthur sent envoys to convey that Atlantis desired peace and cooperation with surface nations, but would defend its sovereignty if provoked. Shin, realizing the need to maintain credibility, moderated his actions, encouraging international collaboration on oceanic conservation and disaster preparedness. The diplomatic balance was delicate, as both humans and Atlanteans sought stability in a post-conflict world. Arthur and Mera then traveled to the sunken ruins of the Kingdom of the Deserters to recover Atlantean archives and relics lost in previous centuries. These records contained ancient treaties, lost technologies, and historical knowledge critical to maintaining the new alliance. Traversing labyrinthine corridors and deep underwater vaults, the pair avoided traps and natural hazards left intentionally to protect the artifacts. Their careful exploration revealed a holographic map detailing forgotten trade routes, resources, and hidden sanctuaries. Information that would become invaluable for rebuilding infrastructure and fostering inter-kingdom cooperation. During this period, Mera received intelligence about scattered groups of trench survivors, still distrustful of surface and Atlantean civilizations. Arthur and Mera orchestrated a campaign of outreach and negotiation, aiming to integrate these creatures peacefully into the ecosystem. Initial encounters were tense. Mistrust ran deep, and violent misunderstandings threatened to derail diplomacy. Arthur personally intervened in critical moments, demonstrating both physical prowess and empathetic leadership. Over time, mutual respect developed, with the Trench acknowledging Arthur's authority and the sincerity of his efforts, while Atlantis committed to protecting their habitats and incorporating their unique abilities into defensive strategies. As Atlantis began to flourish, a mysterious phenomenon emerged near the Eastern Rift, massive bioluminescent currents flowing unpredictably, accompanied by electromagnetic anomalies. Scientists and mages of Atlantis studied these occurrences, theorizing that ancient Atlantean power sources had reactivated due to recent battles and shifts in underwater tectonics. Arthur took a hands-on approach, diving into the anomaly alongside Mera and Volko. The trio discovered submerged crystalline structures emitting energy patterns unlike any previously recorded, understanding the potential both for advancement and danger. Arthur tasked Volko with containing and stabilizing the structures, while ensuring they could be harnessed for the kingdom's benefit. Meanwhile, David Kane, imprisoned within Atlantis, struggled with bitterness and vengeance. Observing Kane, Arthur understood that redemption required more than victory. It demanded guidance, reflection, and the possibility of forgiveness. Through structured interaction and exposure to Atlantean culture, Kane began to grasp the consequences of his actions. Arthur's approach was strategic, demonstrating justice tempered by mercy, emphasizing accountability while allowing the possibility of transformation. Slowly, Kane's hostility softened, though deep-seated resentment and personal ambition continued to challenge the process. The surface world, observing Atlantis' resurgence, faced growing concerns about environmental balance and resource distribution. Nations debated whether Atlantis' technological and magical advancements should be shared or restricted. Arthur, aware of the delicate geopolitics, dispatched emissaries with clear guidelines: cooperation on environmental protection, limited technological exchange, and strict protocols preventing exploitation of underwater resources. Mera led these diplomatic missions with precision, earning cautious respect from skeptical leaders and opening channels for future collaboration. Logical and magical advancements should be shared or restricted. Arthur, aware of the delicate geopolitics, dispatched emissaries with clear guidelines: cooperation on environmental protection, limited technological exchange, and strict protocols preventing exploitation of underwater resources. Mera led these diplomatic missions with precision, earning cautious respect from skeptical leaders and opening channels for future collaboration. Arthur and Mera then addressed internal unrest within Atlantis. While most citizens celebrated the end of Kane's threat, factions loyal to Orem questioned Arthur's leadership, recalling the half-brother's previous authority. Public assemblies became forums for debate, allowing citizens to voice grievances, while Arthur demonstrated transparency and decisiveness. Mera moderated proceedings, ensuring disputes remained constructive. Through patient negotiation, Arthur consolidated authority, integrating former dissenters into governance roles and fostering a renewed sense of unity among the populace. Meanwhile, Vulko unveiled a hidden library beneath the palace, containing ancient Atlantean manuscripts detailing forgotten technologies, healing arts, and tactical knowledge. Arthur initiated a comprehensive training program for young Atlanteans, combining physical combat, leadership, education, and environmental stewardship. The curriculum emphasized adaptability, empathy, and strategic thinking, preparing the next generation to navigate both the ocean's mysteries and potential surface world conflicts. Mera contributed by teaching telepathic and diplomatic techniques, ensuring trainees understood both personal and political complexities of ruling a kingdom. As months passed, Atlantis thrived. Trade routes reopened, ecosystems stabilized, and alliances strengthened. Arthur, now fully embracing his role as king, presided over ceremonies, met with ambassadors, and engaged directly in environmental initiatives. Mera and Vulko continued to advise and support, ensuring decisions were informed by history, science, and diplomacy. Even former adversaries, witnessing Atlantis' prosperity, began to reconsider loyalties and alliances, reshaping the political landscape of the underwater world. However, peace was tested once more when a series of deep-sea tremors indicated potential volcanic activity near the sunken reefs, threatening populated areas and disrupting marine migration patterns. Arthur coordinated evacuation and stabilization efforts, employing both Atlantean technology and the natural abilities of marine life. Mera used her hydrokinetic skills to divert currents and mitigate damage, while Vulko provided tactical oversight and historical knowledge of previous geological events. Through a combined effort, the immediate threat was contained, reinforcing the kingdom's resilience and the effectiveness of integrated leadership. The tremors beneath the sunken reefs escalated into violent underwater quakes, sending shockwaves through the Atlantean cities. Coral towers swayed dangerously, fish fled in panicked schools, and citizens braced against the surging currents. Arthur, fully armored and wielding the trident of Atlan, dove into the chaos, his every movement precise, commanding both marine allies and loyal Atlantean guards to stabilize crumbling structures. Mera followed, her telepathy guiding distressed citizens, while Vulko coordinated evacuation routes and emergency triage. The ocean itself seemed to respond to their combined command, currents redirecting and massive sea creatures assisting in salvaging the damaged areas. A testament to Arthur's authority and the power he had earned. In the eye of the upheaval, a deep resonating roar emerged from the trench-like fissures and ancient Leviathan, disturbed from slumber, surged toward the surface, threatening both Atlantis and nearby coastal regions. Arthur confronted the creature, recognizing that brute force alone would not quell its fury. Calling upon the trident's resonance, he channeled Atlantean energy through the currents, communicating with the beast in a mixture of ancient speech and hydrokinetic persuasion. The Leviathan paused, its massive form undulating with hesitation, before responding to Arthur's command, retreating to deeper waters, leaving only the echoes of its power reverberating through the ocean. Mera, impressed by his control, reminded the council that leadership required more than strength. It demanded understanding and respect for the forces of the world they governed. As Atlantis stabilized, news arrived from the surface. Stephen Shin, attempting one last scheme, had located a hidden Atlantean artifact capable of disrupting marine communication networks. Arthur, seeing the danger, led a strike team through turbulent waters, accompanied by Mera and elite Atlantean warriors. Their approach was strategic, not to destroy it, but to neutralize the artifact and capture Shin, demonstrating restraint even against treachery. The team navigated shipwrecks, volcanic vents, and rogue currents, reaching Shin just as he activated the device. With a precise strike of the trident, Arthur severed the artifact's power, the ocean's currents snapping back to harmony. Shin, awed and defeated, surrendered, acknowledging that Atlantis could not be manipulated by greed or fear. Following the crisis, Arthur convened the Great Council, assembling leaders from Zebel, the Brine, the Fishermen, and allied surface nations. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, the gathered leaders aware that Atlantis' future depended on the alliances forged in both diplomacy and battle. Arthur addressed the assembly, emphasizing unity, shared responsibility, and stewardship of the oceans. He proposed a framework for ongoing collaboration, integrating Atlantean technology with surface world environmental initiatives while respecting cultural sovereignty and ancient maritime traditions. The Council deliberated, debated, and ultimately ratified the agreements, marking a historic turning point in inter-kingdom and human-ocean relations. Meanwhile, Mera and Arthur visited the uncharted sea at the Earth's center, where Atlanta had sought refuge. The hidden kingdom, shielded by natural barriers and bioluminescent reefs, offered a glimpse of untouched marine beauty. Atlanta, reunited with her son, expressed pride in Arthur's leadership and gratitude for Mera's unwavering support. Together, they inspected the mystical currents and coral forests, ensuring that the ecosystem remained balanced and capable of thriving under human and Atlantean stewardship alike. This hidden world served as both a sanctuary and a reminder of the delicate equilibrium between power and responsibility, a lesson that Arthur internalized as king. Conflict still lingered in the shadows. Orm, now imprisoned, observed Arthur's successes with a mixture of bitterness and grudging respect. He realized that true leadership required more than ambition. It demanded compassion, vision, and the ability to inspire loyalty without fear. Over time, Orm's imprisonment evolved into a period of reflection, and Arthur authorized carefully supervised integration programs for former adversaries, turning potential threats into allies through accountability, rehabilitation, and inclusion. This strategy not only strengthened internal stability, but sent a message to all underwater factions that justice tempered with mercy forged enduring strength. The final consolidation of Atlantis involved integrating trench and other oceanic species into society. Villages were rebuilt along natural reefs, with habitats designed to honor the instincts and ecology of each species. Training programs combined Atlantean combat arts with environmental education, ensuring that young warriors understood the responsibility accompanying their abilities. Arthur and Mera personally mentored the next generation, emphasizing empathy, strategy, and leadership. These efforts ensured that Atlantis would not only survive but flourish, a kingdom resilient against both natural disasters and human ambition, guided by wisdom, courage, and respect for life in all its forms. In the climactic moments, the surface world acknowledged Atlantis as a global force for ecological stewardship and diplomacy. Nations signed treaties ensuring sustainable oceanic practices, while research initiatives coordinated with Atlantean scholars and scientists, advancing understanding of deep-sea ecosystems and climate impact mitigation. Arthur, leading a delegation to the surface, demonstrated that cooperation between human and Atlantean civilizations could yield extraordinary results. His presence alone symbolized reconciliation, bridging centuries of mistrust and conflict, and establishing a legacy of peace and environmental guardianship. In a final display of unity and celebration, Atlantis hosted a festival across its central city, with citizens of every kingdom participating. Bioluminescent displays illuminated the waters. Coral towers shimmered with colors reminiscent of the ocean's diversity, and marine creatures swam in coordinated patterns, a living testament to the kingdom's renewed strength. Arthur and Mera stood atop the palace steps, observing their people, feeling the weight of responsibility and the joy of accomplishment. Their bond, forged through trials and battles, symbolized the harmony between leadership, love, and stewardship. The story concluded with a vision of the future: Atlantean fleets patrolling the oceans, surface nations collaborating on marine protection, and young trainees practicing in coral amphitheaters, embodying the values Arthur and Mera had instilled. Peace, hard-earned and sustained through courage, wisdom, and diplomacy, became the foundation of Atlantis' enduring legacy. Even as the ocean's depths whispered of unknown challenges yet to come, the kingdom's unity, resilience, and moral compass ensured that the seven seas would thrive under the guidance of their true king.